Concord is bad. Let's stop talking about it, except for the secret level coming out. What do you think?
I'm ready for it. I mean, we just needed more Concord in our lives. Let's be real. We've all been desperate for more Concord.
I've been desperate to stop talking about it, but it looks like that Amazon will not let us stay silent about it
Well,
any longer.
Sony
I,
bribed
I don't know
them.
what.
Is what I understand. They
Yeah,
like put a lot of money. Like, hey, Amazon, we got this new hit series, Concord. You're gonna want this in your secret layer or secret level, whatever it's called.
secret
Trust
level.
me.
Yeah, yeah. We will talk about this later for sure. The secret level stuff is really interesting. But anyway, this is Stick Drift. That's a cold open for you. We're on, what is this? Is this the fifth one of these or
I
sixth? I
guess
think
so.
we're,
This is the fifth one, I
yeah,
think.
yeah. I think it's the fifth one. So we've got a couple months under our belt. How you feeling so far?
Yeah, pretty good. I haven't put out a lot of solo content. That'll be
No, it's all
changed.
right.
Hopefully this next week. So talk more about that later.
Yeah, yeah, and the reason being is that Noah was a little under the weather, and that's cool. That's cool. That's what I'm here for. Here to help a brother out. But yeah, in kind of talking about the crash course, it was just something I kind of pull out of my tuchus, and I just said seasonal memories and a bunch of games associated with a bunch of kind of time periods in my life. It was more of a personal episode, a lot of anecdotes here and there. But I think it turned out well. Got a little heavy there from time to time, but it's when you're talking anything personal, it can kind of get that way. But I enjoyed talking about it. I didn't expect to go as long as I did because things just happen. You just get carried away. Turns out by yourself, you don't think you have anything to talk about, but if you are led by a topic, you can get carried away. I found so.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
thought it was
yeah. I
pretty
guess I'll
solid.
thank you. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. And turning the kind of query to you, do you have any I don't know, seasonal memories with any games, I guess? Is there anything like for a Christmas season, a Thanksgiving season, a birthday, like in the context of how I kind of talked about my crash course, do you have anything that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I always get strong, just seasonal feelings playing through just like classic games from my childhood and things like that, like the Sonic
Yeah,
Adventure games, like
right.
Majora's Mask, stuff like
Oh, that's
that.
a good one. Yeah,
And
definitely.
like GameCube, Animal Crossing, like oh man, like the seasonal events in that game is just like peak nostalgia. Like and the seasonal
Hmm.
fish catches and like yeah, good stuff. So
Yeah, like original GameCube Animal Crossing, right?
yeah,
Yeah. There's some heavy nostalgia with that. I remember you were deep in that game years and years ago and we were playing that. That's a good time. Yeah, yeah, just it might be an evergreen thing we do again at some point, just stuff that kind of we think of when we think of a certain time or place. That was really good to kind of reminisce a little bit because, with everyone's busy schedule, you kind of life just happens sometimes and you don't ever stop and think about it. So, it's kind of a reflection of the last 10 years of my life, but really the last 5. I think it was good. I really do. I really, really do. Um, but yeah, yeah. Other than that, I've been playing an absolute metric ton of games, and I don't know how many we'll get to today. But the one that's been on both of our tongues here is Overwatch 3, right? Is that what it's called? Overwatch
Concord
Concorn.
2, yeah,
Concord 2,
yeah.
yes, yes. We're talking about Marvel Rivals, which is basically that in all but name. It is basically a ripoff of Overwatch. Like pretty, like they even have like not voice lines, but like some similar lines to Overwatch characters, and a lot of the same special sound effects. Like it sounds really similar.
Yeah, but I think they took a lot of lessons from what people don't like about Overwatch, and I really think they
Sure.
refined like this game to be less of a competitive focused game and more of a casual focused game, and that's what I like about
100%.
this game.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I think when they started even talking about the first Overwatch, there was immediately like, hey, this is an esport. We're going to make it an esport. Like this, Marvel Rivals has none of this stink on it.
Yeah.
It is made it. It's made feature complete and ready for you to play. It's launched with what is it 30,
Yeah,
33
some
heroes, something crazy.
yeah, it's a ridiculous amount of heroes. I haven't touched hardly even like a
No,
fourth of them. Like I just stick with the
yeah.
ones that I like to play.
I did. What was it? My two are Jeff the Land Shark,
Oh gosh. Yeah, we're not
apparently the
friends
spawn of
anymore.
Satan.
Yeah.
I only played him like once or twice. I've only put an hour into the game.
I got you. I got you.
But the one I used most was Wolverine. I was pretty successful with him.
Yeah, he's
Um,
pretty solid from what I understand. I've played against him a
yeah.
couple times. I have friends who've played him
hmm
extensively.
Yeah, and I also played some Spider-Man too. He takes kind of a little bit of getting used to. He's very
Yeah.
uh he's like a finesse character, I would
Mm-hmm.
say. So
Definitely.
but anyway, basically it is what you think it is. Like it is literally Overwatch. There are some different objective modes, but it's 6v6, right? I
Yeah.
believe it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So they go back to 6v6 team comp where Overwatch kind of cut away from that and went to 5v5, right? So it's keeping that old spirit alive that people actually like, while kind of making its own cutting its own path with the art direction and taking a lot of stuff from original Overwatch, right? So
Well, yeah, and this game also doesn't have the role queue, so you can play any role that you
yes.
want to. If you want
hmm
all DPS, you can play a team of all DPS, and honestly, you can do just fine in some matchups with a team of all DPS. Like, really, it's nice to have at least one tank and one support, but you can
hmm
make do without. And there's definitely characters on the DPS roster that can flex into a little bit more of a tank role than others. Because there's as with any um, hero shooter like this, most the roster's DPS. That's just how it is.
Yeah, it's mostly duelist. It's like
Yeah,
more than half of the roster is duelist.
yeah.
Like there's what are all the roles? It's duelist. It's what
Vanguard
is it?
and strategist.
Vanguard, Vanguard and
Yeah.
strategist. So Vanguard is the more tank, like your Hulks or I think Captain America is a Vanguard. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, and then you have your specialist, which is your healing class, which would be like a
Yeah.
Jeff Landshark. I think Rocket Raccoon is a
Yes.
specialist, isn't he?
Yeah,
Okay,
he's
okay, yeah,
strategist. Yeah.
or strategist. Sorry,
Yeah.
apologies. But yeah, it's very similar to Overwatch. It is like that in Overwatch's way, where it has a lot more of the attacking characters that you would be able to play. But like you said, they dropped that role queue, so it does feel just immediately more casual.
Yeah.
And in the hour and a half ish I've played, I've really enjoyed it. I've been playing a lot of other games lately, but it's something that I will definitely kind of play off and on. And it's one of those things where like it's totally free. They're going to get you on the skins like 100%. That's kind of what they're basing it all
Yeah.
off on. But I will say that the game looks really unique and really good. I think the art style they've chosen is really, really slick.
Absolutely. They have like a lot of like animations for like loading into
Yes.
matches and like after match animations. And they also cut the stupid play of the game thing now. It's just like the person who consistently does the best in the match is awarded MVP. Like, hey, you did it. Good job. You get like a
Right.
animation for your character at the end of the game, and there's no like if you want to watch a highlight reel, you can do that on your own time. They're not going to waste anyone else's time showing a highlight reel. So um,
Yeah, that was the issue in Overwatch where, you'd get a diva, get a team kill, and that would just be play of the game because
yeah,
obviously, and you're just like, why would you? You're not rewarding good like actual good play. Like
yeah,
you being a competitive game it's not helping, right?
yeah.
Um, but
I
yeah,
get
I think
frustrated with Overwatch a lot because I would like
yeah.
feel like I was never getting play of the game when I'm like consistently doing things for my team as a support because I played mainly support and tank in
Mhm.
that game, and that's because DPS just usually was able to steal it. Um,
Yeah, definitely. I skewed more support than anything. I played a lot of Lucio. If I could get like an attacking character, it'd be Tracer probably. But
yeah,
yeah, it really feels like Marvel Rivals is just going to eat its lunch and just not maybe supplant it, but shove it to the side for this type of hero game.
for the
It just
casual
feels like
audience,
Overwatch.
definitely. Yeah,
I think that's having the strength of this IP, specifically Marvel, is going to do a lot for that. I mean, they're they basically dropped a bunch of characters you don't even know, but it kind of doesn't even matter,
Yeah,
because Marvel's a brand unto itself. Um,
I
like
didn't know
Luna,
like half the.
Luna Snow,
I don't know them
yeah,
from Adam,
don't
but
even know. Mm-hmm.
um,
Totally.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I've put in about 10 hours into this game, and
Sure.
I'm really liking it. I play a lot of Magic, and I play a lot of
Mm-hmm.
Loki. Um,
Oh,
so
okay. Okay.
those are
Magic with
probably
a
my
K,
two.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She's a lot of fun. I think
Yeah,
my
she's a Vanguard as well, right?
no, she's a duelist. She's a
Oh,
DPS.
she's a duelist? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. She
she
has
can
that alternate
flex
form, so.
into Vanguard. Like she's pretty tanky for a duelist, but she is a duelist. She's really fun to pilot if you kind of know what you're doing in those sort of hero shooters, right? You go in the back lines, you sneak around, go in the back lines, kill the supports,
Yeah.
then you kill the DPS, then finally you kill the tanks last. You know, it's the tried and true formula. But as someone
Hmm.
who knows
Yeah.
that formula, I can take a character like that and I can go back there while my team's distracting them with, heavy fire from the front lines and kill their supports that are in the back lines,
Hmm.
and then just kind of tear through them,
Yeah.
from that
Yeah.
rear. And I'm able to, like, I mean, I get MVP quite often in that game, to be honest.
That's good.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and so I feel like my gameplay is rewarded in that game. And also,
Yeah.
I think the best score I had was like 46 kills in one
Oh, wow.
match.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So yeah, like
That's high.
yeah, it's definitely a type of game that rewards you for understanding its systems and understanding a
Hmm.
character well. So I just play like two or three characters consistently, and
Yeah, yeah. That's how you get good at any of them, right? Is just
yeah,
having a small crop to pick from and kind of going like, I'm not doing well as this one in this match. I'll jump to another and see if I can help my team, right?
yeah,
Um, what I like about it is it's as serious as you make it. It's casual enough to be fun, and accessible, but deep enough to kind of access at a higher level, if you want it. And I hope they don't skew this into a competitive sort of range at some point. I think it might end up being that because as with all niches, it becomes hardcore, but I think this is broad enough and mainstream enough. It'll kind of keep a casual flavor to it. Hopefully that stays the case. Um, I mean, this just came out last week, and
yeah.
this already. I think its concurrence on Steam, I heard, was like in the hundred thousands of some kind. It was high. It
It's a
was
really
very
well
high.
made game.
So
Like NetEase
it's
really
very well made.
outdid
Yeah.
themselves this time,
Yeah. And
which is
this is a
surprising
this
for
is a
that company, to be honest. But
Yeah, it's NetEase. I was
yeah,
going to say this is a NetEase thing. I mean, and I brought this up a few podcasts ago. They're kind of like this nebulous, like megacorp that makes a bunch of random stuff that mostly live servicey, um, and they basically treat their fan base like you know they're prize cows, I suppose. I mean, they treat them well, and they do fan service as needed, right? But if they get you, they're probably keeping you in any game they have. So
yeah,
this is probably going to be their cash cow for a long, long time, long time.
yeah,
It feels like a burgeoning version of this type of game, akin to like a Pokemon TCG Pocket. It feels like immediately it's popular and it's going to stay that way for a long time. And I'd be surprised if anything knocked it off for a while,
yeah,
right? Yeah, yeah. It's a good time. I'm really enjoying I'm definitely going to jump into it more this weekend.
yeah. We
I
should
kind of
try
want
and
to
play
play.
together at some point.
Yeah, we definitely should. We definitely should. This is kind of one of my free weekends
Pretty sure
here,
it's
so
cross
we
plat,
should.
right? Because I've
I
seen
think so.
PlayStation players online.
Hmm.
So
You can spec into console only,
yeah,
or turn it, tick that box or whatever
okay,
you want to say. Maybe not spec, but you can turn that on, turn that off, whatever.
yeah.
The one thing that I did like that they made, this is kind of a new feature for as compared to Overwatch. I don't know if Overwatch has changed this way, if they have hero synergies already, but Marvel Rivals has this where you can link
Yeah.
with another type of hero,
No, I think that's
like
a Marvel
basically.
Rivals exclusive like feature.
Yeah,
So
right. That's like a new system. Like Overwatch does not have this.
yeah,
So, for instance, like you can link up with either a lore reason or whatever. Some characters have synergy with other characters. So,
it's
for
usually a
instance,
lore
you
reason.
have
Yeah,
It's usually a low reason, and one of them is like Hulk can throw Wolverine because that's a comic thing, and he kind of balls him up in this fastball special and hurls him at the enemy team,
Yep.
which is super cool. It's really cool. I don't know how everything talks to each other, or who's synergized with who, but like Rocket Raccoon can ride Groot, for instance, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
So
he can provide like
that's
Punisher and Winter Soldier with infinite ammo as well. So Rocket's like a really good like support
oh
to have just
okay.
around. Yeah.
See, this is good to know. Like, this is something that I can take with me in my match because I haven't played hardly as much as you have, right? Um, but yeah, for something that's so fresh and so new, I think it's extremely polished. The one thing that's been dropping is kind of network connectivity, and I think that's just because of the burgeoning amount of players. I think that's
Yeah, I
really the
think
issue.
they probably weren't expecting this like big of a turnout to the game. So,
Right. But even so, I'm getting more good matches than bad matches, and I
oh
haven't
yeah,
had really any connectivity issues when I'm in a match, right?
yeah,
Um, Usually if I'm getting kicked, it's at the beginning or the end of a match. Um,
yeah.
but they're good about just kind of like basically I got booted out to my home screen on PlayStation and it like quit the game out. And it was kind of crazy. I had to sign in from the beginning, right? And then it put me back into that same match
Oh
again.
okay.
I didn't know it could. That's kind of
Yeah,
crazy that
it
it
can
would put
do
you
that.
right back in the
I
match.
haven't been able to do that when I've been booted from a
Yeah,
match before. Like I usually get
yeah,
autofilled before I can close the program on PC and then reopen it.
uh
It takes a little bit to get into it on PC. That's just how PC is.
yeah,
And so, but yeah, I've had a few crashes here and there that have been annoying, or like, but usually it's like when a match isn't going well, anyways. So I'm like, well, I crashed out of it, but match wasn't going
yeah.
well, so just chalk it up as a loss.
Usually, if you're like deep into a match, it's not happening. I
Yeah,
found anyway.
yeah,
I've played about probably 20 matches or so. They're really quick.
yeah.
They're not. It's not a long
It's
long
not a
sort of
commitment.
queue
That's
or
kind of the nice part
no.
about it.
Yeah, it's very casual, accessible, but deep in the right ways. And I think it's going to succeed for a long time because of that. Because they're launching with 33 heroes, right? And they're balanced really well. And they're just going to keep releasing heroes like they're going to I'm sure they're going to decide a cadence, right? But it's going to be interesting to see like the lifespan of this game because it was built to be a live service. Like,
Yeah,
are they going to be able to foster this community and keep it vibrant, right? Because Overwatch was great with their community to start, and then they just they lost their way. So
yeah. They had
um,
a lot of bad people on that team as well, especially at the
you know,
start.
well,
So
yeah, and Jeff Kaplan, like the head honcho, left.
yeah,
I mean, that was a big thing, and I'm listening to this book right now. It's about basically the history of Blizzard, right? I forget what the name of it is. I'm blanking. I'll have to look it up. It's from Jason Schreier. It's called Play Nice. That's what it's called. The history of Blizzard, its founders, kind of what their processes making games are, the culture there. It's fascinating stuff. I'm listening to it on Audible. Shameless plug, and yeah, it's fascinating to hear about specifically what happened with Overwatch to Overwatch 2. Um, and the transition from Kaplan to kind of leaving the company entirely, right?
yeah,
I think people should listen to and read that book. I don't really want to spoil what happens, but it's a fascinating listen or read, and I highly recommend. Jason Schreier is like the preeminent reporter in the games industry, but besides like a I don't know, a Jeff Grubb or something like that. And this is I think this is third or fourth book, and it's excellent stuff. But if you want to find out more about kind of like the rise and fall of Blizzard and even Overwatch, it's definitely worth a listen, for sure. So, but yeah, Marvel Rivals. Any other final words on that for you?
um, yeah. Not really. Just I think it does have a few character balancing issues with some of the top end of the characters and some
Sure,
characters that are like supported by certain pieces of their kit being slightly overtuned. Um,
sure.
just to
Yeah.
pick on Jeff, like his
Yes.
ultimate
Yes. His
is
ult. Yeah.
yeah, it takes in three people. Now those can
Uh-huh.
be allies, so that kind of balances it a little bit. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
if you get three enemies, you can just rush in there, get three enemies off the point, take them into a cliff and just dump them off a
Is it?
cliff.
Yeah, is it three? I thought you could. I
It's
thought
up
you
to
could get the
3.
whole
Yep.
team.
No, you can just get up
Okay,
to
okay,
3. Yep.
okay, okay. I was seeing a clip of like somebody getting like a whole team getting tossed, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, you can only
Um,
get 3, as far as I know.
okay, okay, that's good
And those
because
can
I was kind
be
of.
mixed with allies and enemies, like I said. So that's kind of how they
Mm-hmm,
tried to balance it. But I think
mm,
maybe having something like some sort of ability to dodge it or like make it a little bit slower so that you can try and
yeah.
react to it with
Mm-hmm.
mobility abilities, like
Right.
something like that. Because like with magic, if I had a little bit more time, I could press my dash button and get out of
Mm-hmm.
it if I was
Yeah.
aware of it.
I basically, yeah, that basically what happened to me is I got caught by him and his ult, spat off the edge, and I was Wolverine. He has this like nice claw dive, so I was able to get back. And
Yeah.
this is at this point where I was like, what's happening to me? Like it looked like something kind of got busted, but I'm like, oh, it's this character's ult? That's crazy.
Yes.
It's basically the Kirby suck from Smash Brothers. You jump off a cliff. So
Yeah, so
yeah.
and you can either spit them off the cliff or if you go off the cliff with them, then that pretty much guarantees that they're dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If
Yeah, yeah,
you
because then can't escape. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
So it's
But yeah,
it's an
yeah,
interesting game for sure. I like it casually,
very.
but they
Hmm.
they're doing a little bit with like the competitive stuff. I know they have some kind of tournament going on for it, but I don't think it's gonna
Yeah.
get that deep into being like some kind of esport or anything like that. Like
Hmm.
it's just gonna be left at that. Like for those who want it to be a little bit more competitive, they'll have that option, but it's not gonna be
Hmm.
some like thing to where they balance the whole entire game around esports. I don't think so.
Yeah, and that's what was Overwatch's problem. So I think
Yeah.
it's going to be easy to dodge those mistakes, and
Yep.
they're going to do just fine. I think they're going to just do just fine. But
Yep.
yeah, Marvel Rivals, we've been playing it. We like it. I'm going to jump into more of it this weekend for sure because I finished a lot of stuff. But yeah, yeah, we're gonna hop to kind of our kind of main games we've been playing. Orange Juice. Is this the 100% Orange Juice
Yeah.
game you were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, this was from a couple weeks ago, but kind of fill me in on what's going on.
Yeah. So they just recently added a tag team mode. So before you just picked a character at the beginning, and that was your character throughout the match in the normal sort of game mode. Um,
Hmm.
but in this new tag team mode that's available for a limited time for now, I'm sure they'll add it as a permanent fixture eventually. But they're working on all of, like the bugs and things like that because it's a whole new layer to the game, adding an extra character. But you're basically able to choose 2 characters at the beginning, and you can tag between them throughout the match, so you get sort of the benefits of both characters, or you can um, remove sort of some of the negatives for some characters if you swap to your other character. So it's kind
Hmm.
of nice in that way. There's a lot of characters that I like that have some pretty bad negatives to them, but if you pair them with another character, then you can kind of manage that downside, and so it's pretty fun. I
Okay.
like it a lot. A lot
Cool.
of characters
Cool.
feel like they have good synergies to them, so it adds another layer of depth to a game that I've been playing for a long time. So it's been a lot of
So,
fun.
kind of explain what it looks like, I suppose. When I've never looked at this game,
Okay.
so visually, what am I looking at? What kind of characters are you playing? When it says 100% orange juice, what does that have to do with the game? I guess.
So Orange Juice is the company that makes the game, makes all the
Hmm.
characters. That's like a um, uh, property, the Orange Juice
Oh, okay, it's
property.
like IP. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Orange Juice
Gotcha.
IP. Yeah, and so basically it's like an anime-ish uh, board game with
Oh, okay.
TCG elements. Um,
Mm.
so it's a card collector, a deck builder, and a Mario Party esque board game.
Oh, Mario Party. Oh boy.
Without a lot of the mini games, it's not really a like
Yeah,
mini
without a lot of
game.
the random giving out of stars. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, the randomness to the game is your dice rolls. Like your dice
Okay.
rolls
Yeah.
are everything, and there's a lot of emphasis on combat in the game. So you
Mm.
can do combat with other players. You can do combat with NPCs, and all of that is determined with dice rolls. So that's where a lot of the
Gotcha.
randomness comes in.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah. I just when you say orange juice, I've never really looked at it. I'm like, what does this even look like? You explained kind of what it was
Yeah.
in our first kind of talking about it, but yeah, gotcha. So TCG stuff, you kind of been playing some Magic, some of this, and you've been also playing some more Pokemon TCG. I've
Yeah.
kind of just been collecting every day. I haven't been battling. I feel like I probably need to get back into battling because I haven't done
They got
enough.
that Venusaur event going on, I think, for like another day or something. Have
Yeah,
you done that at all?
I haven't done any of it. So, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, I'm kind of
You can get
behind
some
on.
really nice rewards for that, like some exclusive cards.
Is it a
Um,
premium pass thing or no?
no, no, it's just a
Okay,
free
I
thing.
don't know.
Yeah,
Gotcha. It's just one of
you,
those events. Okay.
yeah. There's some like really good exclusive cards. Like there's some nice alt art Venusaurs in that pack
Mm,
in the promo pack volume 2. Promo A volume
yeah.
2 is what it is. And but mainly like for as for like cards that are like good picks, like meta picks, you can
Hmm.
get a alternate Jigglypuff that's really good in like any deck that wants to stall out because it can
Oh, okay.
for one energy you can do a sleep move that guarantees sleep.
Oh
Um,
boy, that seems like
so
hell.
yeah, yeah, it's really good. It's really strong for Dragonite. I have a Dragonite
Oh,
deck
for
that runs
Dragonite.
that. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and but there's also if you're running like a Gengar EX strategy, there's a
Hmm.
alternate Haunter that can do
Oh, okay.
more damage, but the
Oh,
consequence is that you have to do a coin flip to see if it actually does damage or not. So
oh,
um,
okay.
it's a
That's still
fun,
good though. That's a
yeah,
good
it's an
trade-off.
interesting, yeah, it's an interesting pick for sure. If you want to add a little
Yeah.
bit of luck to the build, but
Hmm.
it can pay off definitely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then
I was using a psychic deck primarily too, so yeah.
yeah, the other cards are an Onyx and a just
Okay.
a normal like Onyx, just an alternate art, and then Greninja. So you can get pretty much as many Greninjas as you want, and Greninja's really good right now. Water is really strong.
Water. Okay.
Yeah, water, psychic, and electric are really strong. Electric's probably the strongest right now, but
Mhm.
water's still really strong with the Misty support cards. So
Gotcha. Yeah, Misty. I've got it like a million Misties in just opening packs, so
yeah, it's a
I have
really
plenty of those
strong
for
support card for sure.
very, very strong. When we had that night of Discord, everyone was like, "Oh, I hate Misty, this and that." I'm like, "Misty's kind of good." I mean, I
Yeah,
don't think you can talking about.
like if you can just
But
get one energy off it, like that's still worth it, right? And even if
yeah,
you
definitely.
don't, like most of
Yeah.
the time you will. It's just how probability
Hmm.
works. You will get one energy. You'll win one coin flip most of the time, right? So
Yeah, and if you have a water deck, I mean, why not have a few stacked in there just to kind of get
yeah,
your power boost up, you know? Um, yeah. So you said also you got what was this, a medal for getting 5 win streak?
yeah, they've
Okay,
got
explain
another
explain to
event
me about that.
going on that it's a win streak event, and so
Okay.
you just bring your strongest deck and you try and win 5 times in a row to get all the medals. Um, it was hell. um,
It
I
sounds
went
horrible.
in at first with a Articuno deck. So there's a way to game the system with Pokemon TCG Pocket. Any hand that you get has to have one basic Pokemon, right? You have to have a playable hand. That's how the game's programmed. The game won't give you a hand that isn't playable. So
Right.
you can have as few basic Pokemon as you want in order to achieve that. So if you want one Pokemon for your deck and want that to always appear in your starting hand, just only run one Pokemon.
Oh wow.
So I was
That's like
running a
yeah,
deck
good loophole.
that was 18 filler cards and then two Articuno EX.
Wow. That's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
And
Yeah.
so I also had a couple of fossils that so the
Oh, sure.
fossils are nice because they don't get picked up as basic Pokemon, so they won't mess up your system. And
Hmm.
you with the fossils, I didn't have the actual like Pokemon they evolved into there at the time. I'm experimenting with that now for that deck, but
Sure.
with just the fossils themselves, they're nice because you can sack them to keep damage off your Articunos. And you can also, if you get swapped into them, you can just discard them, and then that gets them off the board, and you can freely switch back into your Articuno. So,
Okay. Okay.
um,
That's an interesting strategy. I have never heard of the filler strategy like that. Yeah.
yeah. So, I was running that for a while, and it was working pretty well. I got to a 4-win streak a couple times, but I would just lose to bad RNG, and things like that. And it was also
Gotcha.
relying heavily on a lot of cheese, right? Because I was trying to cheese my way into the Articuno Misty combo and
Oh,
cheese
right.
into
Yeah.
getting a couple of positive coin flips on the Misty. And
Hmm.
it was just too much luck, and I didn't
Yeah,
like
it's kind of a
that.
make or break build. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah, I
make
was
or
just getting
break.
frustrated because I was getting unlucky in the luck build, and I'm like, you know
Hmm.
what? I just need to do something different. So, like, by the time I had like given up on that strategy, I was thinking like, man, I really wish I had another Pikachu EX so I could do the Pikachu EX strategy. That's a little bit more of a solid build.
Hmm.
And like the next morning, I was able to wonder pick into a Pikachu EX. So I'm like, okay,
Oh,
well,
nice.
I guess I pretty much have that settled for me. So I was able to throw together a
Yeah.
Pikachu EX build with
Oh,
all
that's
of the.
huge. That's huge. Those wonder picks are they're such a crapshoot. It's 1 out of 5 or whatever it is.
I
And
get really lucky a lot more times than not and get the card that I'm wanting. So I
oh
kind of
man,
like it.
I've missed so many EXs in those. It's
I've
like you have
definitely
all
missed a lot
my
of
good
them,
luck.
but yeah.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, you definitely have all my good luck. I'll say that.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah,
no.
I check in every day. I open the 2 packs per day, whatever it is, without the bonus premium tier. And I just enjoy the collecting aspect mostly. The battling is good. Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like people have passed me by enough in terms of just how to play it. Maybe I need to either get a refresher or, watch a couple videos on the meta these days. So it
Yeah,
just a game like this could move so super quick.
yeah. If you're in an event that requires you to get a certain amount of wins or requires you to get a win streak, just play that meta. Like, just do
Oh,
yourself
okay.
a favor. Play that meta. If there's an event like that you're really wanting to, that's just my advice to anyone listening. Like, just
Hmm.
do yourself a favor. Just play the meta. Like, what are you doing? You don't have to
Yeah,
be Joe Cool and play off meta. Now, I've got a
yeah.
variety of decks. I've got about 15 different decks that I play around with. And so I've got
Hmm.
everything from tippity top of the meta, just missing like one card from my Pikachu deck. I'm
Hmm.
missing a extra Zapdos EX, but deck functions just fine without that extra one. But
Yeah, yeah.
and then I've got really, really like just not great stuff that I just has like Pokemon that I like. Like
Yeah, sure.
I've got a Nido Queen, Nido King deck. It's not even a tiered deck in the meta. Like it's just it's not consistent at all. It's just a lot of fun
That's a
though.
yeah, funsy
Yeah.
deck. Yeah. So if you get I think is it all the Kanto cards, you get the Mew card. Have you gotten that yet?
Is that right? No, I didn't know that was
Oh
a
yeah,
thing.
no. If you get all 151 or 150, you get the Mew card.
Can you play
Um,
that? Is that legal to play in
I
like
don't know
the
actually.
Okay.
I don't know. I would expect so. I don't see why
So
it
you just
wouldn't
have to
be.
get the
I don't think.
original 151. You don't have to get like the 226 cards that are
I
in the
think you
game.
just got to get the 151. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure because a couple of my friends that are playing this as well, they're like 2 cards away from getting the 151 done and getting Mew, right? Or 150, whatever the
Yeah,
heck it is.
150. Yeah.
150. Getting the 150 for the 151st card, right?
Okay.
And I think that Mew card is one of those like special cards where it has a cinematic to it. So,
Okay.
yeah. So if you didn't know about that, that's what I found out, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
oh,
didn't
okay.
actually know about that.
Yeah, the one thing that is tough is they make kind of cards hard to track. Like you can heart them or whatever, but if you're specking into something like that, where you need a certain amount of cards or whatever. You got to just do the hunting and wish list them, right?
Yeah.
And then hope you get good RNG from either the wonder picks or the regular card packs. But you know, I'd like to do it at some point. I don't know if I will or not, but I'm enjoying kind of checking in every day. So
Yeah,
that's me.
I've got two of those cinematic arts. I've got the Charizard EX, the
Hmm.
cinematic, and I've got the I just yesterday pulled the Pikachu EX with the
Oh,
cinematic.
okay.
So
I got the Mewtwo one with him breaking through the laboratory. That's a really
how
cool
does
one.
that how's that cinematic? Is that pretty cool?
It's really cool. Like the art's great too. Like he's busting through the window, right? This Mewtwo,
Yeah,
and it zooms in on the screen, and it goes all the way in the scene behind him through the window into the laboratory. It's really cool,
yeah.
really cool. I wanted to get that Charizard one that you were talking about, where they're
Hmm.
kind of at the battle in the sky. That one's super
Yeah,
cool.
I ended up
Um,
in one 10 pull I did. I ended up with two of those.
oh, the luck. Have you gotten any gold, like extremely rare
No,
cards, or
no,
no?
no, 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 no.
Yeah, I don't
None of
think anybody. I
those.
have never seen. Yeah, I've
I've
never
seen
seen
him.
anybody else get
I've
those.
seen him once in a while, just like playing online in like
Yeah,
really high end meta matches. But
yeah, I haven't seen
because
any in the
like
wild at all.
I was playing that Pikachu deck, and every single matchup was against the Pikachu deck. So the matchmaking definitely
Uh-huh.
knows what it's doing for better or for worse. But
Right.
so I was playing a variant of it that's specifically targeted to go against Pikachu decks, so
Oh,
that I
okay.
could do well in that matchup. And so
Gotcha. Makes
what
sense. Makes
but
sense.
whenever I'd meet something that isn't that, Pikachu deck, then I'd struggle a little bit, and sometimes I get really frustrated in my climb to the 5 win streak because I'm like, ah, dang it, if I was just going against the Pikachu deck, I'd be doing a lot better. But
But yeah, that's basically our time lately with Pokemon TCG Pocket. It's a great game. If you haven't played it,
yeah,
you should because millions of people are. It's like the two biggest games in the world are this and Marvel Rivals. So like that's a lot of them, the entire world playing video games right now. So
yeah,
but
gotcha.
yeah,
Now,
yeah, we've been kind of playing that. I've been finishing a ton of stuff like for my video game playing. I kind of have this nice little list, and I'm kind of picking away at it. The hardest part for me is not finishing everything. I hate that. I will always want to finish what I buy, right?
yeah,
But there's just some things I just don't like, you know. I
yeah,
just
that's fair.
and I used to think I'm better than that, where I'm like, oh, I'm pushing through, but I'm just like, I just don't have I just don't have the time to finish a given thing. And I think the one thing I wanted to start with is Penny's Big Breakaway. I've told you about this, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
Sonic like.
from the guys. Yeah, it's from the guy it's. I think it's a Christian Whitehead thing from Sonic
Hmm.
Mania. Um, he made a bunch of Sonic fan games, and then he was kind of
Did the
conscripted by
ports.
Sega to make, yeah,
Yeah.
ports as well, um, to make Sonic Mania with his team, and that's a great game. Like Sonic Mania is an awesome game. It's kind of like a Sonic best of or remix, while adding a couple new things here and there. I've beaten that game a couple times. It's one of the only Sonic games I've ever finished, but I really like that game.
Yeah, those
And they kind of,
Whitehead ports, just an anecdote, those are the
mhm.
ones that are used on Sonic Origins, I believe. Those
Is
mobile
are they really
ports
okay?
that he did, yeah, the
Yeah.
source code for those, I'm pretty sure, is used on Sonic Origins.
That's super cool. I like it. I like that because it was kind of like a fan effort to start with, and Sega's
Hmm.
like, "Hey, we'll just give you money.
Yeah.
That's all right." The one thing I don't understand though, like, if he went off to make this game, right? Why didn't Sega just get him for a mainline Sonic game? You know, that's a head scratcher for me. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a multitude of reasons. It might have just been that he wanted to do his own thing too, with like
could
the
be. Yeah,
Penny's Big Breakaway.
I'm not privy to. But anyway, Penny's Big Breakaway. It's an indie title from him and his team. I like the vibe of it. It's kind of like you're this girl with a yo-yo. She's kind of like this trapeze artist, this carnival artist. I don't really like her design. She kind of looks dumb to me. She has this like white kind of George Washington wig sort of hair and on top of her head is this kind of bloodborne tricorn hat. It's a weird looking design. I don't really like it that much. The style of the game is really good though. It feels very N64 coded while not kind of being that rough looking. It feels akin to that, you know. Um, and there's like some nice visual flair here and there. I like the particle effects. When you get behind like collision or a wall or something, you'll see like Penny's, I don't know, geometric like figure, like the circles that make up her like compose her figure in like the program will just pop out of the thing covering her up, which I find is a really cool touch. To even see what I mean, you'd have to see the game, but it's like a kind of a base form for her that you see. It's just fun. But I don't like the way it plays really at all. And I was trying to kind of come around to it. It's very momentum based. It's a platformer, sure, but you always really need to be riding on your yo-yo. So there's two states for your character's movement. It's kind of running around, which is sort of like a plod. You're not even running really. Or there's jumping with your yo-yo and swinging off of it. Um, and for locomotion, you can ride on your yo-yo. But if you kind of do it on an uphill or a flat piece of land, you're not going to get the momentum you need. So you're just kind of rolling around really slow. So you have to kind of time everything to kind of increase your velocity throughout every level. And there's like time trials, this and that, very Sonic coded that way. But there's just something about the controls either being off or just something I'm not getting my head around. There doesn't feel like there's a good flow, I guess I mean. And I think that's why I just don't dig it. If a game does not, and I played a fair amount, I played 2.5, 3 hours of this, like it just was not clicking. And I tried my best. I did the tutorial multiple times. I'm like, I really want to keep playing this game. I like pretty much everything about it but the playing of it, you know? And for a platformer, that's like a cardinal sin, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's a bad game. I don't think I can get my head around the movement of it. It's just I think also it's kind of like this. It's got this tilt shift sort of isometric off kilter look to it. So you can see your character for sure, but in some platforming sequences, you're just straight up missing platforms because the way it's scaled, it's tilt shifted in a way where you don't know where the platform starts and ends, right?
Yeah.
And that stuff is extremely frustrating. It's that and like first person platforming, extremely frustrating if you're not really paying attention. Um, and I just, I think I'm putting it down. I might come back to it with a fresh set of eyes. And I think that's important at some point to do that with games you normally don't like, right? But I think I'm done with it. I'm kind of touching a bunch of games from this year, but, you know, I'm trying to finish more than I'm just touching and putting away. This one I'm just done with. Penny's Big
Yeah,
Breakaway. I gave it a good chance, but yeah,
that game, like this, the like character design and like just like world design in general, it seemed awfully like Yuji Naka coded. Like,
oh,
um,
extremely, yeah, totally. I
yeah,
can see that.
they were
Feels very
definitely
Knights like, yeah,
and we love
yeah.
knights here on the Stick Shift
Oh
podcast.
well,
So,
sure we do. That's exactly what I was talking about last pod.
well,
It does feel
it
Yuji Naka
feels
coded,
yeah,
yeah,
it feels a lot more like just from what I've seen of it, it feels a lot more like Balin Wonderworld, and
yeah, sure,
you're
sure. In
definitely
terms of like the vibe of it, it feels kind of similar, but not in the
yeah,
playing of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's just
It's a competent video game. Like Balan is not.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
After
and
playing Balin Wonderworld, it's like hard for me to like look at a game that looks like that game and
yeah,
like actually like do I really want to subject myself to this? Like I subjected
sure.
myself to Balin and that was not healthy. You got to make healthy
I
choices in life.
you do. I think that is being a tad unfair. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I do think this game is a good video game.
Okay.
I just personally don't like playing it, and I think I'm going to end it there for my time with it. I tried my best, but when you're missing platform after platform, and I'm paying attention too. I'm not just like messing around. I'm like, I want to make this because I'm tired of doing it. I'm just like, I've done enough of this. I think I'm just going to move on. So put
Yeah.
that down. Um, I've been starting some stuff here and there. and kind of finishing some stuff. So I'll start with the stuff I've started. Um, Hellblade 2, I started. I'm playing on Series S. Um, it's a visual downgrade from the Xbox Series X version or the PC version. I'm liking that. It's very narrative focused. If you've played Hellblade 1, it's basically the same game except with more visual flair. Um,
Is this like the
I
Souls like FPS?
No, no. So you're thinking of Hellpoint, maybe.
Okay.
Um, Hellblade is from Ninja Theory. They made DMC, the kind of bad Devil May Cry game. It's not a bad game. People don't like the version of DMC they made. I think it was a great game personally, especially playing it was awesome. But Ninja Theory, they also did Heavenly Sword. If you've ever heard of
They
Heavenly
did
Sword for
another
the
M2,
PS3,
didn't they?
did they? I think you're thinking of Team Ninja. I think
Oh,
Team Ninja did that. I mean, easy. It's totally easy to mix those, right?
yeah.
Um, but anyway, Hellblade 2, very simple. I don't have much to say about it. I played about an hour and a half of that too. I've been kind of picking around in games just to see what I like, what I don't like. I'll probably finish that. It's like 8 hours. The one thing that bugs the crap out of me, and the first game did this, but it felt like artistic, right? Is the main character Senua. This is basically like a Viking setting, very Nordic. Um, you're kind of traversing Hell, back and forth throughout both games, or you're encountering mythological forces here and there. Um, she is inflicted with psychosis, which is, as far as I can tell, it's like mental issue with somebody where they're hearing voices in their head or they're being led astray or they're it's kind of this mental turmoil that I don't quite fully understand because I don't have it right. But it's an actual real issue that people do have, and they're trying to demonstrate it in game. And they do this in the first game, where they have these kind of like voices in your head trying to dissuade you or make fun of you, whatever, jeer at you. They're like people that it's like being standing in the middle of a room and people talking to you from every corner, um, of the room, saying you should do this, you should do. Like it's a lot of chatter. It's a lot of chatter, and I don't want to disparage the game itself or like what they're trying to do because I don't personally know how it is to be afflicted with this sort of thing. Um, but in practice, I don't think it's a very fun mechanic. The first game was okay for this. It feels like they doubled down on the entire psychosis angle for the second one. And when you start this game, it's like unbearable how much they talk to you. Like you're talking to characters in the game, like in the game, and you have these ladies chirping in your head about this and that, and they're not even saying anything. They're just talking, and maybe they're just showing how annoying it is for this main character, right? But it is overbearing. It is the main issue I have with this game. Where I'm like, why the hell are we doing this? Like, I understand you're trying to make a point, but, I did this before in your first game. In the second game, you doubled down on it. I just feel like it needs to be kind of textured. Like basically, I'm talking to somebody and they're cutting off their dialogue with whatever crap they're saying. Like, oh, you shouldn't listen to him. Blah, blah, blah. Like they're literally trying to dissuade you as you're talking to this person. What's going on? It's a major issue I have with the game. I'm just like, why are we doing this? But yeah, yeah. I think it's a good game, really, really beautiful. Um, I just if anything's gonna knock me off, it's that. Um, Hopefully it doesn't because I think it's an Xbox Game Studio thing, so it's like one of their big games for this year, right? And
So
I
is
kind of want
this
to
like
finish it.
a sort of a? I don't know anything about this game. So is this like a
Yeah,
dialogue
yeah,
heavy, like cinematic sort of game?
yeah. It's kind of like a walking sim with light
Yeah.
combat. I would say that it's
Okay.
very
Okay.
similar. You're doing a lot of like visual puzzles. So basically, it's extremely linear. There's hardly any branching points, if any. Um, you play as this kind of Nordic character, this Viking character named Senua. And the first game, she's trying to avenge her lost love, and basically takes his head with her after he's been killed in this violent altercation to hell to retrieve his soul and insert it back into his mind. Right. The first game is great. I like the first game. I think it's done extremely well. The psychosis angle is great, and I think the audio is the standout of that first one, where they have all these voices talking to you, and it's not just like these like female voices. There's like a couple male voices in there too. So like, there's a lot going on in her head for this psychosis issue, right? Um, the audio is a highlight there, and it's a highlight in this new one, right? Um, but it kind of colors every situation you're getting into, and maybe that's kind of the point. I don't know. It just feels overbearing. It really does. But at its core, it is a kind of end-to-end walking simulator with light combat, very Nordic. Have you heard of like the Northman or seen How to Train Your Dragon? It's kind of close to that sort of feel, where it's very fur coat, craggy rock, sort of medieval Nordic flavor.
Gotcha.
Um, it's not a feel good game. I'll put it that way. It's kind of a bummer, this game. Um, I hopefully it turns out all right. But initially I'm just like, this is worse than the first time. And I thought I tolerated it the first time, but it's pretty constant. So that's the first thing I'm playing for Xbox. The other thing, and it's kind of the biggest game probably the rest of the year, is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Um, this game is amazing. It is so good. So I've talked at length about Hellblade, and I will talk about this. But what's your history with Indiana Jones? This and that. Kind of walk me through how you feel about this game in particular.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the original trilogy. Everything
Hmm.
after that, the fourth one, Crystal Skull, that was okay, I guess. And I haven't
It's fine.
watched the newest movie, so I don't have an opinion of it.
Yeah,
Um,
I haven't seen it either. Yeah,
yeah, but this one's supposed
yeah.
to be set in between the first and the second movies. Is that right?
Okay, so the chronology for Indiana Jones is odd. The second movie is the first chronology. Like chronologically, it is the first
Oh,
of the Indiana Jones.
really?
So
I guess I didn't
it.
realize
I
that.
know people don't think about that, but it
Yeah,
is. It's Temple of Doom. It is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then it's Last Crusade. Everything else after,
that makes a lot of
which
sense.
is crazy. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, and because two is not even a prequel at all to the first one.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
don't mention
aside
it
from
as a
having
prequel, but
they don't. The only hint you get is the year that it came that it happens. I
mm,
think Raiders is what 36, and I think Temple of Doom is 34 or 5.
yeah,
So
well,
it's
they're
before
still
that.
dealing with the Nazis in the third one, so it's kind
Yeah.
of like a weird jump from going from the second one that had nothing to do with Nazis to where they get back to
Hmm.
Nazis. So that makes sense that the first one and the third one would be more connected.
Yeah, yeah, and the Great Circle takes place, like I said, like right after Raiders, and it starts with the opening of Raiders. They kind of like render it again. It's really interesting. It serves as a tutorial, the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yeah,
where he's getting the idol and kind of having his helper along with him, running away from the boulder. That whole sequence is not ripped or anything. I think it's lovingly made a tutorial, and I think it's fantastic. Kind of what they do. The thing that really shocked me, and in trailers you hear it and you're like, that's pretty good, but in the game, you hearing Indiana Jones, like Troy Baker being Indiana Jones, is like a mind blowing thing. You're like, this is as good as you could hope for not Harrison Ford. Like his impression of Indiana Jones feels amazing. It's like tailor made for this sort of character.
sure.
He feels like he's like a different interpretation in some ways, but he feels like that flavor. Like, hey, that's what a video game Indiana Jones is supposed to sound like, because
Yeah,
even Harrison Ford doesn't sound like this anymore, right?
right.
Um, it feels like a right inspiration. Well, there is some differences, right? But the performance is just stellar, and I think without it, the game would not work. Um, but I think the mocap is fantastic. The voice performances are just stellar, stellar, stellar stuff. And I think the story is really interesting. So far, I played more tonight. I'm about 2.5 hours into it. As far as I can tell, it is a massive game.
Yeah,
Like this is going to be a 20 to 30 hour game by the time you're done with it. And from like Wolfenstein, this Machine Games made Wolfenstein, the New Order, and then the New Colossus, and then
yep,
Youngblood. But they're known for these Wolfenstein games. They're pretty linear, aside from a couple of things here and there. There's like a hub and spoke system for especially Wolfenstein 2. Wolfenstein 1 had a little bit of it, but this game straight up, like Indiana Jones: The Great Circle, has wide open areas where you are investigating for long periods of time. doing side quests, activating kind of like hidden mysteries, accessing tombs. It's crazy stuff. Like per area per zone. I'm in the Vatican, not to like, you know, spoil the whole
Spoil,
thing,
yeah.
but his journey takes him to the Vatican,
Sure.
and the Vatican is like rendered beautifully, and there's like so much you can do there, right? Um, but I hear there's like three or four more biomes like this of this size and length. I'm like, this is like shot. It feels like it came out of the blue, like what this game was to people, you know?
Yeah.
Um, I'm digging it so far. It's fantastic.
From what
Fantastic.
I'm from what I understand of the game, it has like a lot of like heavy use of physics in its combat. Um,
Yes, extremely.
so that's
Yes.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, it feels like a Dishonored or something. Like they
Yeah.
made an immersive sim with Indiana Jones. Like
Yeah.
pretty directly. It is not a combat heavy game. It's a very stealthy, very sneaky. It's I should say it's first person with some like third person kind of flavoring to it. So for instance, it is rendered in first person. You are Indiana Jones walking from point to point. If you look down, you can see your feet. Like
Yeah.
it feels very like Wolfenstein did this too, where you could see your feet running around and stuff, being a goober.
Yeah.
Um, if you do that while you apply a bandage, it looks kind of funky, right? Um, but there's mostly first person rendered, and then like when you're using a whip, excuse me, to reach like a high ledge, it'll zoom out into third person as he kind of scales it, which is cool,
Sure.
you know. And all the cutscenes are of course in third person, right?
Yeah. So
But yeah, that's mostly what it looks like.
does this game also have like heavy involvement with Nazis in the plot of it?
Yes. So like I said, it's kind of the thick of this era, right?
Yeah.
Um, so since you're in the Vatican, you're in Italy, so there's Mussolini, right? You're kind of it's really funny. I'll have to get into it a little bit, but there's this fascist threat where there are fascists, Nazi, and Italian and German, but
Yeah.
they literally name all the opponents fascist, like number one, number two.
Oh
It's
gosh.
hilarious. It's so funny. Like in the subtitles, they go
Yeah.
like, "This fascist is talking," and you're
This
like,
fascist is
way to
talking.
go.
Yeah, they're not,
Yeah.
they don't deserve human rights. They're fascists.
He says something close to this where like he's pickpocketing from them and he's like, fascists don't deserve to have money or something
I
crazy. And I'm
love
like,
that.
hell yeah, Indiana Jones.
You get him.
That's something, yeah, that's something that they get really right. Like the humor is just crisp, spot on
Yeah.
to Indiana Jones. Like it feels like it feels like a sequel to an Indiana Jones movie or the next edition. Like if they just made two or three of these things, like as these games, I would be stoked. It feels like the next way to endear a character to a new generation. I think it's
Yeah.
just great.
So
Yeah.
I was just thinking this whole time, right? It's been going around in my head, and I got to get this out. Um,
Yeah.
so this developer, right? You said they worked on the Wolfenstein series, right? So
Yes,
they must,
which are Nazi punchers.
yeah. So they must beef with like Nazis and fascists like all the time in their games, and like
What's
those
wrong with
hate
that?
groups probably hate these guys. Like I mean,
Oh yeah, no, they're very good at it. They're very proficient at it.
yeah,
I mean, if you're naming your opponents fascists in your games, you kind of have your politics on your sleeve, which is okay.
yeah. It's
Because
okay for a
if
game to
you're
have that, right?
well, it's not just that. Like if you like a Nazi, then I have a problem with you.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
it's like the easiest thing to hate ever.
Right, right.
It's like Nazis, zombies, and Nazi zombies. They're like the easiest villains of all time.
Right, and
Um,
yeah, I mean every shooter uses them, because yeah, I
right.
mean
Yeah.
people don't mind shooting, Nazis shooting
Wolfenstein
zombies,
used both. I mean, they
Yeah,
used Nazi zombies for Pete's sake. So,
yeah. Call of
but
Duty
yeah,
did it too, so
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And they definitely are not trying to reinvent the wheel.
yeah,
You are punching many a fascist, and
that's awesome.
like you said, it's very physics based, right?
Yeah,
You're doing a lot of knocking folks out. Like anything you can pick up anything. There's like shovels, brooms, candlesticks, menorahs. You're smacking people out with. Like you. I'm not even joking. Like they took like the irony, and they just went like, no, this is just, we're making the subtext text. You can knock this fascist out with a menorah. It's amazing. Yeah, it's
That's
incredible.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Love that.
As far as I can tell, I am barely in this game. Like it feels like it's just starting, and there's so much to do. So much. It feels like an open world game in some way. Um, I'm really excited to jump more into it. I think this weekend it's going to be probably my main concern for sure. Um, if you out there haven't played it or are wanting to play it, just get a Game Pass subscription, play it until you're done.
Yeah, that's what I
And if
need
you
to
like
do.
Game Pass, keep it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it is, man. Like Metaphor, and we'll get into this at some point. Metaphor is my game of the year. This game, if it goes at the pace as it's going, is either going to be tied with it or right below it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anything could top Metaphor. I'm going to say this. I don't know. But if Indie is as good as I think it's going to be, it's an all-timer of a game, just like Metaphor is. It is an all-timer for its genre. It's incredible. It's an incredible first impression. I'm really excited to see how it goes. It's a massive thing. I was shocked the scope of it. Like the scope of it is unreal. Like this, what you're doing in the game. It's basically like an immersive sim by way of like I don't know, the Forgotten City or something. Like you're picking up notes and stuff and finding out mysteries. It's incredible stuff. I think you would really like it specifically. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, since I talked about Metaphor, I'll kind of get into kind of the end of it. I finished it. So, man, I went hot and heavy on this game. This was like the only thing I was playing. Um, and I don't want to spoil it for you,
Yeah, no
right?
spoilers.
Sorry. Yeah, no, please. I will. I I know what you need to be spoiled on and what you don't. So don't even worry about it. As someone who has just played it, it's fine. I'm not going to spoil.
Okay.
And also, you don't have context for it yet, really. So I'm going to kind of keep it brief. It took me 72 hours to beat this game. 72. So that's short for like a Persona game, right? I mean, not short, but it's shorter than like
Yeah.
a Persona 5, which is like easily 100 hours. Like
Yeah,
Persona 5 is like a
Persona
100-hour game.
5. Oh gosh, that's a long game.
Yeah,
Especially
that's
Royal.
extreme. Royals like 110, 20. Like they
Yeah, they
added some
had
extra
so
stuff.
much content to that. It's not just some extra
Yeah.
stuff. It's a lot of content they added on top of
They
that
added like a
game.
new character, like this and that. Like
New
I if they
dungeons,
do
like
yeah,
that's
I wonder if they're going to do that extra new addition for Metaphor, like they add a new party member or something. They're probably going to, right? I
yeah.
don't
I
know.
mean, they did it for Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5.
Yeah.
So if this game
It
is
feels like that's something they do.
as yeah, they did it for a lot of the SMT games. Like I know that
Yeah,
they did that with SMT 4 and SMT 5. So
yeah, Vengeance. I just picked this up actually recently, Vengeance. They add like a new story, like a straight up new
yeah.
story to Vengeance.
They did the
So
same
like
thing
there's
for 4. It's like a completely
yeah,
different perspective in 4. It's really interesting. Apocalypse. So
interesting.
yeah,
Oh, okay, in SMT4. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the so they have the base and then Apocalypse too. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I saw for SMT.
Yep.
Um but yeah, anyway, my final thoughts on it is one of the best games I've ever played. Like it's just cut and dry. It's a top 10 video game for me, period.
Wow.
And
Hmm.
I listen, like it takes a lot for a game to get on that for me.
Yeah, it sounds maybe
I
like a recency bias, but if you're saying it's not, then
I'm telling you, man, I can't think of another game I've enjoyed this much since like maybe an Elden Ring or something like that. Like I think genuinely, I think it's probably Baldur's Gate or Sekiro that I just loved
oh
to
gosh,
pieces.
Sekiro.
This is there, and I know as soon as I'm done with the game if I like it like that
Yeah.
or not. Um, like sometimes I kind of have to step back and really think about my experience. Outer Wilds was like this, where I'm like, I think this is it. I'm pretty sure this is one of my favorite things I've ever played, but I'm not sure. And it took me like a few weeks to go like, yeah, that's definitely up there, right? And
Hmm.
that's my top 5 ever. But Metaphor is at least on that top 10. I don't know
Sure.
where it ranks yet. That's going to be something. But I just think everything it sets out to do, it accomplishes with such a panache, such a verve. This game feels like it's a game of verbs. You're always doing. There's action to everything. The story has the best pacing I've ever seen in a game, like almost dead straight. Red Dead 2 is pretty close. That's a slow game in some ways, but as for pacing, kind of peaks and valleys, this game is like perfectly paced. You're always doing something important to either your character's growth, your social links, bonds, growth, or the story's kind of precedence,
Yeah.
basically. There's always something interesting happening. There's always something you can do. There's always interesting places to go, uh, fun side stuff to do. It is just it's chock full of interesting things, characters, ideas, and I think the main cast is some of the best characters in any JRPG, RPG, anything. It's up there in my estimation with like the Baldur's Gate 3 party or like Mass Effect 2's party. They are tight like that. It feels there's I think there's some things that suffer, which doesn't put it quite up there to like a Baldur's Gate 3. Like for instance, there's a couple late adds to your party that feel like they're kind of catching up to everything.
Hmm.
That kind of isn't my favorite. Um, but as for their individual character arcs and stories, they're incredible. Especially the last party member you get, which I will not spoil, but they have the saddest thing ever happen to them,
Yeah.
and you're there for it entirely, right? And seeing how they get incorporated into your party is just mind blowing. It's fantastic. Um, it kind of hit me in waves where I'm like, oh man, this is getting good. This is getting good. And then something crazy happens and you get reinvested in different ways. And it's just I'm trying to talk as broad as I can because I know you're about to play it, right?
Yeah.
Um, I just think there's a couple things you probably need to know about it before you get in. First of all, are if you have things to do for your bonds or your like royal virtues, which is kind of like your guts or whatever for like a persona.
Okay.
I would do your bonds before like bettering your character, for instance. So
Yeah.
um and this is like in Persona, where you're doing a social link or a bond, and it'll give you some points towards that kind of personal resource, right? Instead of focusing on like, oh, I'm going to go raise my tolerance today, I would go spend time with a party member because by the time I finished the game, I missed out on like two or three finishing like maxing out their
Hmm.
social links because I was maxing out my royal virtues, which really kind of sucked because your bonds don't carry over to New Game Plus, but your royal virtues do. So anything you miss in your personal growth, you can finish in a second playthrough if you're going to finish it. Whereas your bonds, you got to start from base one
Right. That's
in a
how
new
the
playthrough, which kind of
Persona games
sucks.
work. So they do have that
Right,
like
right.
life management sim sort of aspect of choosing to better your character or better your social relationships, just like the
Yes,
Persona
yes.
games.
It's
Okay.
that push and pull, yeah, that
Yeah.
give and take. But the thing that we kind of, we had some conjecture about, and the first kind of time I brought this up
Yeah.
is that there are no romantic entanglements at all. It is all like, hey, we're all partners, we're all friends, this and that. And I think ultimately that makes this game a far more mature
Yeah.
romp.
Yeah. I'd agree with
Everyone
that.
feels like adults. Yeah, everyone feels like adults. Everyone feels like they're not trying to get an angle on somebody, which kind of persona can feel that way sometimes where they're like, hey, you're a sexy teacher, let's go make out. Like it's not like
Yeah.
this, you know? Or you're a weird goth doctor. Let's go. I want to get your number,
Yes.
girlfriend. Yeah, yeah. What's her name? Takemi? Is that her name?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, everyone loves Takemi. I like
Yes.
Takemi too, just fine.
Peak.
I was a Lady On person. That's just me. Maybe I like the white lady. It's fine.
Wow.
Um, I
Actually,
know, I know.
actually, my least favorite character in that game. So
On really? Yeah.
yeah,
I hadn't finished Persona 5. I need to. But
yeah,
anyway, not anytime soon after finishing Mana 4. I'll tell you that. Um, this is the rare game for as long as it is. I never got tired of it. Not once. And if I didn't have other stuff to play, I would be playing through this again a second time. And I'm not even joking. I love this game that much. I would gladly pour another 70 hours into this thing. Gladly. But I need to finish some other stuff
right.
because if I don't, it will never get played. It will just straight up never get played. Um, but I just think it's a fantastic game. The stuff they do with the job system specifically as well is just really good. Like there's a lot of party diversity. Nobody is just specked out in one, profession. Like you're able to kind of pick and choose classes for different people, give them different accessories and equipment to make them better. It's not as locked in as like a persona is for having characters have specific persona. Like you can kind of class into multiple things, which I
Okay.
really love. There's like 40 job systems or something, 40 jobs.
Yeah.
Um, and once you rank them up all the way, you get like these master levels where every time you level those up, you get currency to level up other archetypes. So by the time you have a full party of masters and you're doing end game stuff, you're just leveling up every archetype you want,
Yeah.
right? And I like that kind of push and pull. I think the thing that I didn't like as much about it is that the calendar is far shorter than in a Persona game. So it feels like I didn't have as much time to get everything done, but I feel like maybe I wasn't as efficient either. So
Yeah.
that's like this game is it's from I think it's from what May, June to like October. It's not a long
Okay.
calendar. Where Persona is like a whole semester and then some,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Um,
Persona's at least a year usually.
yeah, this is like 4 to 6 months. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that long of a game in terms of the calendar. It's a very long game, but yeah, I just think I mean once you get to playing it, I really want to talk about it again.
Yeah.
But uh, I'll talk to end on this topic. I'll talk about my encounter with the final boss. Um, I think that it's extremely tough. I had to drop the difficulty down, and I think that was because I mentioned to you I was underleveled, right?
Yeah.
But up until this point, it had not been a problem me being underleveled, um,
So
and
difficulty
everything's governed
spike
by
kind of happens then, you think?
yes, and
Yeah.
especially because I was fighting the secret boss, right?
Yeah. Well, secret bosses
I kind of
always are going to be a difficulty spike. That's
Yeah,
just
and I
how it
didn't even know I
goes.
was doing it until I got there,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, I kind of skipped this area." Turns out that summons the boss. Anyway, um, but yeah, I think that was a tough fight. It took me a few tries. I stayed up till 3 in the morning that night
Oh
getting that
gosh.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not a great decision. Anyway, I don't do that for many games either, but start to finish, back to forth. I mean, it is just the story is so pertinent to this time right now. It takes place in an election year, in the game, and
Oh wow.
that's how it was here.
Yeah.
I mean, in our lives, and there's charismatic leaders and people vying for your attention, and a lot of media nonsense. It feels like a game for our times, and I might want to write something about it at some point, but
Yeah.
it feels very pertinent to what we got going on. So yeah, metaphor. It is. You got it. You're gonna play it. I can't wait to talk to you about this game. Like really talk about it. We'll get talking to spoiler capacity at some point. I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I
We'll
really
definitely
do.
do
Yeah.
a Final Destination or something on it at some point. So
Yeah. For sure. I
I
think
I want
that's
to
probably the best. Yeah.
I want to be able to get through it at some point. I want to at least play some of it before end of year and then try and get through it
uh
start of next year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my goal for that.
Yeah. And I'll be doing Persona, so we can kind of talk back and forth on both. And that's gonna
Yeah.
be the two big ones, I think. And maybe you'll play Indiana Jones. I don't know where you'll be at with that.
Yeah,
Hopefully you do.
I want to. So we'll
It's
see
not as
where
long,
I can
so
get.
I think you can
Yeah.
blow through that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, but that's the main big one I played. A couple smaller hits. I've been playing kind of a lot of smaller games to kind of ride out this longer experience. I don't want to talk too much about them, but I mentioned Arctic Eggs last podcast. That's a really fun time. Like I said, it's kind of like this gibberish gulag simulator where you're cooking eggs for people. There's no real story to it. I don't even know if the game is like actually good. But the mechanics fun where you're flipping things for people and um yeah, it's fun. There are some interesting things people say to you. It's one of those indie games. It feels like it's tied around the one mechanic, but like I said, not very heavy on story or anything. It took me 2 hours, very easy to finish. I beat that. um a Ranger, this is an interesting game. I think you would like this game. Maybe it's a puzzle sort of game where you're this little character. Name What's her name? I forget her name. I'm so bad with names lately. I don't know what it is. But she moves differently in the world. It's like a 2D side-scrolling isometric view. Um, when she moves, every tile on her grid moves with her. So it kind of moves people in her world and all this and that left and right. It's like a cute little puzzle game where you kind of have to be aware of your surroundings and kind of puzzle your way towards the exit. It's a good way to spend like a day. I don't think the story is really any good. But it's apparently this developer's first game, Furniture and Mattress. I think it's worth a look if you want a fun afternoon. A Ranger, that's a good one. Um, that one took me what 4 or 5 hours, not very long. And then a couple other ones. I think you'd love this game, Little Kitty Big City. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. That's just a great game. That's a great game. Like I'm not even a cat person. It's super fun. Like the it's very easy to finish. It's a small kind of world you jump around in, but it feels very Japanese coded that way, where you're this little cat kind of running around town doing errands for other animals. It's super great. I played on Game Pass too, so if you get Indiana Jones, you can probably play that too. Um, and then kind of the last of this little small little block I finished was Thank Goodness You're Here. Have you ever heard about this game?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's an interesting game. I'm not quite sure totally what I think about it. Not quite. But as far as I can tell, it is a game where it's a slap former. You are slapping things and jokes are falling out of things. It's a very random game. It's kind of Arctic Eggs in that way, where it's like I am interacting with this world and random things are just happening to my character. So you play as this little yellow guy. He's like a little yellow guy in a business suit and kind of receding orange hair. Everyone kind of looks like a Muppet, so does he. He's this little short guy, tiny little, really short guy, running around town doing favors for people while he's waiting for the mayor to answer his call. And people are like scripting him to do wild stuff. Like, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to begin. Like it feels like Muppets on crack. Like, and I'm not even joking. It is a crazy, crazy game. Like, you are. Oh my gosh, how do I even want to say this? You're like going to like this meat store and helping this guy grind the meat, and then getting sucked into the meat and having to create this Akira monster out of meat, and you're getting swallowed by the meat monster and it's spitting you out back into the world, and you're going down a drain pipe trying to get this wrench for this guy, and this guy's being fished down into this bottom of this pond to get this wrench. He's like this fish man. It's so random. It's one of the most random things I've ever played in my life. It
Yeah,
makes no sense even playing it. I don't even know how to explain it to you.
that's
If you
pretty
want to
bizarre.
laugh though, yes, if you want to laugh though, it's a hilarious game.
Huh.
There are many good gags. So basically, the structure is you're helping people around town. You're kind of getting a vibe for what you need to do. They'll go like, if they have a task for you, these random townsfolk that are all crazy, they go, "Oh goodness, you're here. My little boy, he needs to go to the store, but he's bedridden. You need to help him, you know." And so you'll go to the store and get him random stuff, and there's like funny little non sequiturs of these little scenes happening.
Yeah.
Um, like rats are infesting a town, you have to get this fat rat some cheese, or this kid's bedridden, like I said, and his arm gets really long and it's like chasing you throughout the store. It sounds like I'm actually like losing my mind
Yeah, it
talking
sounds
about
like
it.
an acid trip.
it it is. It's a great looking game. It feels like a Muppet Show sort of
Yeah.
2D sort of side scrolling thing. I don't know. It's a wild game. It's very British, very twee.
Okay.
It's got Matt Berry on it from What We Do in the Shadows, the show, if you like that. Um, it's just if you want to like play the weirdest thing you've ever played, play that. Thank
Huh.
goodness you're here. It's super random. I thought it was like a kids game. It's kind of adult. Like there's
Okay.
people like banging each other and saying
Oh
fuck.
yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
yeah,
Probably not a
or
kids
yeah.
game. Don't, kids don't
No,
play
and
it.
it kind of shocked me. I was like, okay, I didn't think this is what it was because it's
Yeah.
Muppet saying this kind of or kind of odd looking people, right? But it
Yeah.
takes place in this like small British town. It makes no sense, and I kind of loved it. I kind of
Yeah.
loved it. It's super easy to play. It was 2 or 3 hours of my time, but yeah, that's basically what I got for the
Yeah,
small
and you
stuff.
said there
But
was like a fish man, so Seaman confirmed. Her old friend is back.
there is semen in this game. Yes, yes. I'll keep it at that. There's some wild stuff with a cow specifically. They're
Oh
gonna go like,
gosh.
"What is happening?" Yeah. But yeah, that's all the stuff I've beaten. Touched Hellblade 2, Indiana Jones. Um, man, I played a lot of games. I don't even know. You're probably getting tired of me talking, so I'm gonna like split this up. Probably. Let's talk about your odds and ends because
Okay.
I feel like you need to say a couple things about Drakengard 3,
Oh
and we'll kind of
gosh.
return to mine. We'll kind
Saying
of return to mine
things.
after your odds and ends.
All
So,
right. All right.
Drakengard 3
All right.
is the dumbest game of the year, right?
No. Stop. Stop.
Oh,
Stop. Okay. Okay. So Drakengard 3, right? It's not this
it's
year.
not a this year
It's
game,
yeah.
but
It's
yeah, yeah.
older game. I actually don't remember when that thing came out, but I'll look it up real quick.
2014, 2014.
2014. Okay. Um,
Yes, sir.
so yeah, 2014, right? Kind of right smack in the middle of that sort of HD era, I think. HD era kind of started like what 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, PS3
um,
started H3 HD era. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
so
technically Xbox 360 did, but yeah, it was 720p.
yeah, but so this game just kind of smack dab in the middle of that, and if a lot of it kind of feels like a response to that HD era with some like the dialogue and writing, and some of it also just feels like a response to just like Japanese gaming at that time in general.
Interesting. Interesting.
Um, yeah, it like surface level, it's really really cheesy, right? Really really um, terrible dialogue, stuff like that. But when you hear it long enough, right? When you're invested long enough into this thing, like you start to think to yourself, okay, they can't be serious here. Like there has to be something more going on here, right? And this is just cheesy JRPG. Like maybe I'm reading too far into it. I don't know, but what I'm getting out of it personally is this sort of like critique of that genre being a bit
Okay.
too over the top, and
Okay.
so they do things over the top to emphasize
Uh,
just how over the top that genre was getting at that time. And so
yes. So real quick, I watched a video on this, right?
okay.
Because I wanted to see what it was like. The person in question, I forget the YouTube channel. I'll have to find it at some point. But he was talking about Drakengard 3 in these kind of like reverent tones, saying like, "Oh, this is great, this and that." And he's like, "Initially, I hated it." I'm like, "Okay,
Yeah.
what is going on here?" The idea is that okay, this is what I came away with from this video, and maybe you can call me out here. I don't know, but he is saying this creator is saying that they intentionally maybe made a bad game, and they're kind of making fun of it. And I wonder how that could be because a lot of people don't just do this on purpose. From the dialogue to the combat, like I think he's trying to make an excuse for these things being bad rather than it being bad and them kind of having to deal with it. I don't know. What do you feel about that?
Okay. So as for the gameplay, I think everything in the gameplay is intentional, as in they
Okay.
really did think that they did a good job with the gameplay. They really did think they had a solid
Yeah.
gameplay
They
foundation.
thought they were making an earnest effort, right?
Yes, yes. And the gameplay, from what I understand, I haven't played the other two Drakengard games. From what I understand, this is the best showing of gameplay from that Drakengard series, right?
Gotcha.
Now,
Gotcha.
this is a Yoko Taro game, and Yoko
Hmm.
Taro games aren't always known, for their combat, for their gameplay.
Yeah.
That's not what people sing praises about them for. Um, but those Drakengard games in particular have always been a lot of times I've been told they're unapproachable in their
Mhm.
gameplay. And my takeaway with 3, as someone who has been playing it extensively, and as someone who doesn't like these sort of hack and slash type of games a lot, like I'm not a Devil May Cry fan, I'm not a fan of that Metal Gear Revengeance. I played the first two Bayonetta games and thought those were fine. Not really my thing, basically, this type of gameplay, but I have been enjoying this game's gameplay. It has a lot of bugs, it has a lot of slowdown, plus a lot of pop in. I'm playing it on actual hardware, on an actual PS3, and um, it's showing its age, but
Yeah.
um, I'm enjoying it.
Hmm.
And I think a little bit of like context background. This game is, it feels a lot like the gameplay loop of Kid Icarus Uprising for the 3DS.
Oh. Okay. It makes sense why
And
you'd like it.
yeah, so that's the vibes I'm getting from this gameplay loop, and that's why I'm enjoying this personally. I have a lot of history with Kid Icarus Uprising. I won't get
Yes.
too
Yes, you
big into
do.
that, but
For sure.
that's a game that desperately needs a Switch re-release. But
I hope they do. That'd be nice. Yeah.
it, but yeah, this game, Drakengard 3, is gameplay wise, I think it gets a passing grade. It's a fun, video game, in my opinion, that I think the gameplay is serviceable. They got oh, what was it? Access Games is the one who did.
Access, right? Not
Um,
Kavia, who did the first two.
yes, Kavia
Um,
did the first
that
two, and those
and Yokotaro
two.
was tied at the hip with them. Yeah.
Yes, and those two, from what I understand, the gameplay is absolutely irredeemable, is what I've heard.
Uh-huh.
I still need to go
Uh-huh.
back and play them at some point to see for myself, but
Yeah.
this game, I feel like the Access Games did a fine job in making it playable. It's not quite up to the playability level of those Platinum Games ones. Like I believe they did Platinum Games did Nier and Nier Automata. Um,
They did Nier Automata. Who did? It was not. They did not do Replicant. I forget who did
okay,
that.
okay.
Yeah, they definitely did Automata for sure. They were kind of
It
a
might have
for
been
hire in
Access
that way.
Games that did Nier. Then I'm not sure, but
Oh, I used to know what this is. Yeah, keep talking. I will
wait.
look.
So, but anyways, so yeah, gameplay, and I'll probably do like a dreaded backlog on this when I'm finished with it.
Oh yeah, great,
I'm
absolutely.
about towards the end of it. I've got like one final branch left to do, and then I can
Hmm.
finish up the like quote unquote true ending or whatever. But I got to get like some housekeeping stuff in the game, get 100% weapons, like usual with Yoko Taro games.
Yeah, right.
So, and I'm also doing like the DLC prologues. So, for like each of
Gotcha,
the main
gotcha.
antagonists. So,
So, so since this, okay, so I don't know if you want to get into it really. Um, since this is a not a maybe a prequel. I don't know how this manifests. What ties this to Nier specifically? Is that a spoiler?
yes and no. I mean, it. I feel like if you are invested in this stuff, you already know that this game is connected to Nier, right? Because
Yeah,
I knew it was connected to Nier before going into this game. That's like the one thing I didn't know
right.
about this game.
That's what I
So,
knew about. Yeah, Automata as well. Yeah.
I mean, spoilers if you're wanting to play this or whatever. But I'm not going to talk into it detail. But basically, the very last ending is supposed to tie directly into Nier.
Okay. And is this the one you have not seen at this point?
Yeah, this is the one ending I have not seen yet, so I'm not
Okay,
sure
so
on the
that is the
specifics.
last one you have. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and you have to get 100% of the weapons to even get that ending. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so I have like one weapon that I'm missing. I think I just have to do some missions, like some of the bonus extra request mission things. So
Okay, okay. And
just
to
some
answer your question
housekeeping
about
stuff.
Replicant, yeah, yeah, some Replicant stuff. Toy Logic did that remaster, so it
Okay,
was not Kavia, but Kavia created the original Nier.
so they did do the original
So
Nier. Okay, but
they
the
did,
original
yes,
Nier,
and
I thought that was just pretty much the same gameplay as Nier Replicant.
it is the same. The difference being okay. So the difference from version is for the American version, they wanted to engender it to the
Well,
American
yeah,
populace. So it's a big burly man
yeah,
being the main character of Nier. The name is Nier, right?
yeah,
But for the remaster and then the Japanese version, it was a kind of boyish, young adult version of Nier as a character, right?
yeah,
And that's like the main differences. As for the game, it's basically 1-to-1. Other than that,
yeah.
and
Okay,
I think the difference is in the Japanese version, the character of Nier and his sister are in that one, including Replicant. And then the original American version, which I kind of want to play just to kind of see,
yeah.
it's kind of hard to find. I think it's Nier and his daughter. I want to say,
Yes. Yep.
so
That is
that's
correct.
the main differences there.
Yep.
I'm interested. It's an interesting thing to go like, hey, we're going to do the Japanese version of this and not the American, but I think
Yeah.
they probably just want to do one effort, right?
Well, yeah,
But
and from what I understand, right, that American version did lose a lot of like, not just that, but lost some touch basically, and I think that
yeah,
was
it's
a
not as
lot
good
of
of a
that
version.
was a counter
Hmm.
to the reception of Drakengard 3, because Drakengard
Gotcha.
3 was so poorly received critically in the West, whereas in Japan it was well received from what I understand.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
but it was just so over the top. very, very, very Japanese game that they were like, this won't sell in the West, so you're gonna have to make it, more Western coded, you know. So I
That's
think
definitely what they did. Yeah.
with Nier and Automata, I think a lot of what I struggle with those games is that I feel like a lot of like the creative liberties that the team had in Drakengard, um, in 3 in particular. I'm not sure about the other ones, but they lost some of those, right? Because those
Yeah.
series didn't quite get a good reception in the West, and so they kind of had to rein in some of that to make it more of a mass appealing sort of game. And
Yeah.
the end result, yeah, those games, Nier, I think did better in the West than Drakengard 3. And then, of
Yeah.
course, Nier Automata was a huge success. And so,
Well, the original Nier was a kind of a cult classic for a long time.
yeah,
Um, it was only, I mean, when it came out, there was a lot of kind of discord about um, what is going on with, or discourse, I should say, what is going on with the character, like why it was changed to be kind of a lesser version on the whole, right?
yeah,
And he's also kind of an ugly character too, so like it's not the greatest impression when you're playing as him. Um, but it being the same game back and forth on each end, besides the kind of main protagonist and his attachments, that they changed just enough while kind of putting out a worse version. It wasn't until Automata that it really like, oh, we need to like look back at the original because this one was so amazing. Like, is if this one is even as half as good, even if it's the American version as Automata, that's a win.
yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, I see
But
what you're saying. Yogotaro kind of losing his kind of liberty in sort of way.
yeah,
That makes
I
sense.
feel like a lot of people did, and a lot of like media did go back and look at, that original Nier, and then they had the
Yes,
Nier
yeah,
replicant, but I feel like people were always like told not to look back at the Drakengard series,
yeah.
and
Hmm. Hmm.
as far as like Sony and everyone else was concerned, like they've just kind of buried that series. It doesn't feel like that's gonna be remastered anytime soon, and so which is
Yeah, I don't
really
think
to
so.
me a shame because like there's just so much going on with that game that I'd like to talk about in depth, that I haven't seen anywhere else in
Yeah.
gaming, like legitimately.
Okay.
Like there's stuff
Yeah, I
that
want to hear about it.
I'm just
Yeah.
I was like jaw dropped. Like I've been gaming for so long now, and I'm like, where did this come? Like, how did they get away with this? Like,
Yeah.
I was getting like these like questions in my head, like, what is going on with this game? Like, who wrote this? They need to
Yeah.
be fired first of all, but second of all, like, what is going on here? It's the type I tell people this. I tell people this that ask about it. Like, I tell my friends this. It's the type of game I never want to see again, but it's an important game for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I can square that for sure.
Yeah,
I think if they wanted to bring these games around, they should do a remaster of them or a remake of them, especially Drakengard 1 and 2. I think if
yeah.
the ideas are intact and it can be improved upon, they should, especially if there's 3 games in a series. Like, I would hate to throw away the first 2 games and just play the third, when there's
Well,
enough to salvage from both.
yeah, and I think they would want to start with the third because that's the one that really does tie
Probably, yeah.
into Near more so than the other two. And that's
Yeah,
the one that I think would be the most salvageable in terms of like
for
getting
sure.
it up
For
and
sure.
running and feeling like a competent, you know, modern game. Because there's not a lot they have to do really to get that game up and running, in my opinion. Like there's just a few things they need to fix to make that game
Yeah,
feel good.
yeah, for sure. The reason they got lambasted when it came out is because of the performance primarily being
Yeah.
so shoddy.
And it's not
Um,
even that
like
bad. Like I've played way worse like games performance wise in like the modern era than this game. So like Pokemon runs way worse than this game. So
so I will ask though, did this game take any patches at all? Like, do you know, or are you playing base
yeah,
base?
I think that I think there was one patch. I think I'm only like version
Okay.
1.01 or something like that. So
Okay,
like,
that's probably why it's a little better. I'm sure when this came out, it was in a far worse state. So, kind of having that in mind, it
well,
might be slightly different. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I think it's like 1.01. So I don't think they changed a whole lot. I think they just patched
So, in
some
a
of the game
reviewing
breaking
capacity, I wonder if
bugs.
there's any changes like that. I don't know. I have
The
no clue.
performance is still like not good, but it's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet by any means. So
yeah. No, okay. Anything's better than that. So,
yeah,
if it's not that, that's at least a little bit playable. So,
yeah, it's
yeah,
very very
I,
playable.
yeah, I want you to talk at length about this. I probably will buy this on eBay because I kind of have to know at this point.
It's
So,
on. You can buy it if you have a PlayStation 3 on PlayStation Store. It's like
oh, that's
15 bucks
right.
on there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
15. Okay, I should probably do
yeah.
that. Yeah, I have my PS3 downstairs, but I think I probably will do that after
Now
this.
those DLCs that I was talking about, the like prologue DLCs, those are still at full price. So those are $30 for those DLCs
Oh
if you
God.
want like the complete story, and they also help you with like the end game grind, getting like the gold you need to get all the weapons. So
Okay,
um,
gotcha. It's cheaper than it would be on eBay though. It's going
yes,
for like 50, $60. So
yes, yeah, it's a lot
yeah.
cheaper. That's why I just went ahead and got it on that store because luckily they
Okay,
still have that store up and running. So
they
um,
do, which is good. They threatened to take that down a couple years ago, and they haven't done
yeah,
it yet. So
yeah,
that's good. Yeah, Drakengard 3. I will. Yeah, since you said that, I'll probably get that here really soon. Um,
yeah.
you've
The
also been playing some more PS3 stuff, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So what you playing what? Demon Souls? That's the next one,
yeah,
right?
yep. That's the only other one that I own right now. So yeah, I've been playing
Gotcha.
through Demon Souls for the first time. Well, I've tried it on and off to get through it, but it just it's the type of game that loses my interest. Um,
Yeah.
as a longtime FromSoft fan, I don't know why, but this game just doesn't ever stick with me. And right now, I'm kind of in that slump where Drakengard 3 is kind of taking
Yeah.
the spotlight for me over this game.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
And so
I can relate for
it's
sure.
yeah, it's a good game, um, but it just the entire time I'm playing it, I'm just comparing it to that first Dark Souls, and it's
Yes.
not that first Dark Souls.
Yes. You
It
nailed it.
if
Yes.
if you like Dark Souls 1, just play Dark Souls 1. Like
Yes.
Dark Souls 1 is Dark Souls 1, Demon Souls is Demon Souls. They're different games and you can't compare them.
It's
Demon
a proof of
Souls,
concept. Yes.
yes,
It's a proof
absolutely.
of
It feels a
concept.
lot like a proof of concept. And Demon Souls likes to take your lunch money. They love taking your lunch
Ugh.
money. They're bullies. Like Demon Souls is a
Ugh.
bully game more so than
It's
I
a
think
mean game. It's a
it's
mean
very
game.
mean, more so than I think any FromSoft game I've played. And
And
this is
it's
the guy
not
with King. I
fair.
have
Yeah.
Kingsfield in my freaking background there. I think that game is more
Yeah.
fair than Demon's
Yeah.
Souls. Like that game is just BS a lot of times. Like I'm a Dark Souls
Uh-huh.
2 fanboy. Dark Souls 2 can be mean, even that's
A lot of
especially that
BS.
Scholar of the First Sin. We can get into that another time, but that Scholar of the First Sin version is made directly to go up against that oh you're gonna die sort of mentality, whereas the base game Dark Souls 2 plays much nicer, much better, and a lot more fair. But
Right.
that's the version that I played back on that I own on Xbox 360. Whereas a lot of people tried to play that Dark Souls 2 on that Scholar of the First Sin version and got burned, and understandably so. It's a much rougher game, but Demon
Yeah.
Souls, there is no like version that's less rough, at least not that I'm aware of. I'm pretty sure that remake is basically one for one. They added a little bit of new content, like a couple of
Yeah,
new
I can
weapons and
speak to that
armors,
at some
but
point. Yeah, I could definitely speak to it,
um,
but I wanted to hear what you said about the PS3 version. Yeah.
yeah. As for the PS3 version, now I'm also playing on a like TV that has like issues with darker like gradients, like viewing those,
Mm,
and so
hmm.
it's a very dark game, so it
It's
really
a very
strains
dark
my
game.
eyes
Yeah.
playing it.
Yeah.
And even with like the brightness cranked all the way up, and
Sure.
I but as like a veteran, FromSoft player, I can confidently say that this game likes to, yeah, be mean. And I'm playing with like a
Yeah, yeah.
normal sort of build. Um, what I'd consider like to be a good standard FromSoft build. I'm running around with the Moonlight Greatsword.
Sword shield, I mean, or just two-handing. I mean,
Yeah,
that's really it.
yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sort. I have like a wooden great shield, and then I've got that Moonlight Greatsword, and that's pretty much what I'm running around with. It's that Abjugator great
Yes,
shield
right.
that
Yes.
gives
The
you a little bit
educator.
of
Yes.
health regen. So
Yeah.
this is like the one
Hmm.
FromSoft game that health regen actually feels pretty decent in. So I've been stacking a lot of
Right.
like health regen stuff on top of my Moonlight Greatsword, and but yeah, I just I mean I feel like I'm doing okay, like damage wise to things, but like the main issues I'll just run into something that I haven't encountered yet, and then it'll just kill me, and
Yeah.
it'll kill me for like reasons that I couldn't see coming or that the game didn't teach me to that it will kill me. And like the
Yeah.
one of the major times that really messed with me as a long time player of these games is there was a area with molten lava, and I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
well, yeah, I can run on that temporarily because you can do that in literally all of the Souls games, right?
Not in
Not
Demon
Demon
Souls.
Souls. You touch that lava, it kills you. So
Yep.
then I learned my lesson. All right, I'm not gonna touch lava anymore. Well, now I'm in this section to where I'm in these like mines, and again they've got like enemies lined up around like lava and stuff. I'm like, okay, can I touch this lava? I better
Hmm.
not, because I was told not to touch the lava by the game. So I'm gonna be really pissed off if I'm supposed to go through that lava. I'm a little bit lost right now in these mines,
Yeah.
and if I was
Yeah.
supposed to
I
go
know
through that
exactly what you're
lava,
talking
I'm gonna
about.
be really pissed off. And as you
I
can
know
probably tell
exactly
by
what you
now,
mean.
I've been doing this without any like guides or anything like that. I've just the only thing that I've
Yeah.
looked up are where the heck is the Moonlight Greatsword. That's literally the only thing I've looked up. So,
So in talking about this, I can talk from the PS5 version of the
yeah,
game, which is the one I had played. Um, it is like you said, 1-to-1, pretty
yeah,
specifically. They even take frame data from that. So it feels essentially the same. There's a great documentary on the making of this from NoClip. NoClip is great in general.
yeah,
They also did a Half-Life 2 documentary for the 20th anniversary for Valve. So they're busy. They're doing all this stuff. They made the Demon Souls documentary, I think 4 or 5 years ago. Um, but anyway, they were talking about like kind of gussing up what's already there, and they added new, animations for like some of the executions and stuff like
yeah,
that. But they also changed some of the art direction a little bit and the
yeah,
gussing it up. So it's kind of like double-edged sword. Like it looks great, it plays really well. It's on a system that is modern, right? But like you said, this game is mean. It's extremely hostile to the player in a way that the FromSoft games got away from, but they illustrate their point better these days.
yeah,
I feel, and in some ways, not perfect, right? Um, but they'll make the bosses harder than say like an Elden Ring, but they'll put a point of grace there, right? And you can kind of
yeah,
jump from there. That's a great because you don't want the run back a lot of the time. In some of the older games, it was tradition to do that. You kind of got used to it. As for quality of life, this game has none of
yeah,
that, none of it. It is it is like the proof of concept for what FromSoft games became, you know. And I think the main issue I have with Demon Souls as a game is the world state. Have you heard about this world state
yes.
thing?
Yeah.
It is Oh my god, it is so bad. Like
Uh,
it's like you have to play well or you will be penalized
well,
severely for not playing
and the
well.
world state isn't just your doing either. It's like the collective of all the players
Yes.
online, right?
Yes, it has nothing. It's like you contribute to this, but if you continue to die, at some point your health drops, enemies get tougher. Like the game
Yeah,
does not become remotely easier. So, like, if you suck at the game, the chances of you getting better are slim, even if you're doing well, because sometimes you're just going to die. but every time something negative happens to you in your game, it affects your world state. And so there are different states your worlds can be in that you can see reflected in one part of the game, and it lets you know how things are, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's just not, they never did this again with any of the other games. It's a relic of this
For
first
good
one. And you're
reason.
just like, what were they thinking? You know?
Yeah,
It feels extremely punishing, extremely punishing.
yeah.
Yeah,
They do that, and then they've got the have your health whenever you're
that totally.
in soul
When
form,
you're out
and
of when you're
yeah,
hollowed. Yeah, when you're
yeah, when you're
hollowed.
hollowed.
Yeah.
They brought that back in Dark Souls 2, but to a
Yes.
much lesser extent. Like it's a gradual process. Like if you're really sucking at the game and you're not trying to do other things or like improve, in other places, then the game's going to
Yeah.
punish you for that. Demon Souls is like, "Oh, you messed up once? Screw you. You lose half your health. You should just
Yeah.
go sell the game already. Like, stop playing this game. You suck."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically how they
Like
treat
it
you.
literally, like you have a long health bar, it literally chops it
Yeah,
like in half.
yeah.
Like it's crazy.
Now there's a ring that you can get near the beginning
Yeah.
of the game that like makes it to where you lose only a quarter. That's still a quarter of your health at the
That still
beginning of the
sucks.
game. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like because you're
Yeah.
forced to basically die at the beginning of the game, and then you are stuck with that half health until you essentially beat the first boss.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's super punishing. They actually there's I love this anecdote of I believe it was Miyazaki himself was presenting this to I think it was the president of PlayStation or something like that, and he had to
Yes.
hide.
Yoshida. Yes.
Yes, he had to hide the fact that you lose half your health so that they could get this green lit through
Yes.
all like the channels and things, because
Well,
they would have
yeah.
never accepted that
Well,
mechanic.
so that was interesting, right? He did this for Shu Yoshida, right? And they were looking for a publisher for this game. Um, Shu Yoshida had such a bad time with it, Sony dropped out entirely.
Yeah,
This game was published by Atlyss to start with, which is crazy.
yeah,
Thinking about like, even now where they're trying to buy Katakawa, right?
yeah,
Like that's crazy. Like they were there. They could have done it. They could have bought them when they were nothing,
yeah.
or not nothing, but like not what they are now,
No,
like a
they
mainstream
were a very
juggernaut.
small company
Yeah.
back when
It
they were
started
developing
like that
this.
though, where it's just a bad impression. She was like, "This is a terrible video game," but that same year, it
It kind of
won
is.
Game of the Year from GameSpot.
Yeah, yeah.
So people are like, "I thought this game sucked," and they're like, "No, this is like
I
a very
mean,
rewarding game."
so yeah, it is. It kind of sucks, but it's that it's that prototype for that Souls formula to where like, yeah, these games kind of suck, but they suck in a way that makes them feel like an old game, and so that's what
It's not just that.
attaches to people.
It's like that. It's like that achievement you get
Yeah,
from things sucking. You're
yeah,
like, I conquered this suck, and I am a lot better for
yeah,
it.
and like, there's definitely a
I
lot of
feel like
parts and pieces to it that are really well done, but there's also a
yes,
lot of
yes.
BS, especially in Demon
A
Souls.
lot of BS. I
Yeah.
think I think the main BS is that world state stuff, and
Oh
I
yeah.
just think that enemies just hit harder in this game than
Mm-hmm.
any other of their games. Like from starting enemies, it's crazy. It is nuts. Like you're getting shellacked as soon as you drop foot. And the
Yeah.
bosses are just The bosses like they hit really hard, but like they are not complicated to get your head around
So
necessarily.
the bosses are really annoying in this game, in my opinion, because every single one of them feels like a gimmick fight. Like there's not
That's what I'm
one that
saying.
I felt like it's just
Yes. Yes.
like I just go up and attack the thing. It's like, oh, you go up and
Right.
attack the thing, but you gotta do it in this weird way. And you gotta do like 500,000 things before you can just go up
Uh-huh.
and smack the thing. And
Like
like half the time, I
there's
don't
that.
even understand why I won the fight or what the
Yeah.
mechanic was I was supposed to do. I would just
Yeah.
like with the Fool's Idol and with the Armor Spider. Like I would just do things, and then I won those fights like first try. And I'm like, what did I do to win this fight? I don't know. It was just jank BS. So I just kind of went around and like did my own jank BS to kind of abuse the system to get around
Yeah,
it.
right. Yeah, it's yeah, it's like you said, it's very gimmicky. It's like that big I forget what his name is. It's like this iron armor where he's taller than you. You got to clip his Achilles, right? There's like all these arrows and archers shooting at you while you're doing this. So before you can even engage the boss, you have to go up on the parapets and go kill them, and then go
Yeah,
back down and fight this idiot.
yeah,
And he hits you like a truck. Like you know what to do. Like you once you understand the gimmick, it's not a problem.
yeah,
But you're still having trouble getting there because all this bull crap's in your way. Like you cannot just fight directly. That's what I like about Bloodborne specifically, is that there is rarely any distraction from the fight. You
uh-huh.
are engaged with the opponent,
I think
right?
like the one
Um,
reborn is like the one fight that like has like the BS
that
archers.
yes, that is
I
like
hate
this
that
though.
fight.
That is exactly what I'm
Yeah,
talking about, and that's everyone's least favorite fight in that
yeah,
game. Is that, um, but it's like those are the worst from fights are those
yeah,
crowd fights,
yeah.
and we will definitely talk about more from. I think we're going to break this out at some point, so I
Oh
don't want
yeah,
to talk too much about it. But that push and pull of you versus them, Sekiro does this beautifully, where you are always fighting, if not one person, small amount of people, right?
yeah,
Um, and you are given the tools to accomplish your goals. And Demon Souls is like uninterested in you conquering anything. They're like, "Oh, you
yeah.
made it? Well, not for lack of trying, right?" I think with Dark Souls, it's kind of amazing the leaps that they took
Oh
to
yeah.
make that. You know,
That game
they
feels
they
just
got
so
rid of the
much
things that
better.
are so much better. It feels like it went from like alpha to like complete 1.0. Like it's
Yeah,
crazy. Um, I do like Demon Souls,
yeah,
but I don't love it at all.
yeah.
And
It's
I,
gonna
I
take
stopped
me
playing it. Like,
time to get
yeah,
through that game. I want to complete the game. I really do
yeah.
without the luck cheese or whatever. But
Hmm.
I just want to go through with my big, green sword and do the thing, that
Yeah.
I do in all my favorite From games.
Hmm.
Just bonk them with
Hmm.
the big green sword.
Just
But
bonk. That's what I do. I double hand everything. I mean, unless I'm
yeah,
playing Sekiro, right?
yeah,
But yeah, we will break these discussions of From out. We've had some
oh yeah,
discussions about it.
yeah,
Um, I dropped it on PS5. I don't know if I'll pick it up again anytime soon. But
yeah,
in talking about this stuff, I'm sure we will probably bring up this again. So
yeah,
maybe I need to brush up on some Demon Souls. But anyway,
yeah,
that's been your kind of PS3 block, right? You got
yeah.
anything else?
No,
Okay, cool.
yeah, I'll get into Drakengard 3 more. I really want to talk about like the
Yes.
character designs and like the world building and things like that of that game. So I'll
Yeah.
talk about that in depth on like a dreaded backlog or something like that.
Okay, so I guess we don't have to get into it quite yet until the end. Are you wanting to do that next week, or kind of like how do you feel about it?
If I can get this finished up this week, then I'd definitely love to do that
Okay,
next week. Yeah.
cool, cool. I mean, we can. This is definitely fluid. I'm just
Yeah.
genuinely asking. I haven't
Yeah.
really asked you.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool, cool. Because I would love to hear like nitty gritty details about it. I love that
Yeah.
stuff. Just hearing like what you think is interesting about it's really cool. But since we kind of cut away from some of what I had going on, because I have a metric ton of stuff I've been playing. Um, My a couple of the other things I've played are Tactical Breach Wizards. Have you ever heard of this game?
No.
This is an excellent video game. I think it's going to be some of my top for the year. It feels very Into the Breach. It's like Into the Breach by way of um, Invisible Ink or something like that. If you've heard of Invisible Ink, um, it's isometric tile-based strategy. It's like XCOM kind of with wizards,
Okay.
tactical wizards. Imagine the Medal of Honor folks carried wizard staffs. Like that's literally what it is. It feels like that.
Gotcha.
Guys in like big beards and ghillie suits with like runes. They're throwing on doors to blast them open, breach and clear.
I
It's
love
super
it.
cool. It's really fun. Um, the story doesn't seem very interesting. It's whatever, but I think it's scratching that little Into the Breach itch that I love, where it's kind of a puzzle strategy game. I love those games. Into the Breach is one of my favorite games ever, and I've been trying to get you to play it for a long time. You need to play it.
I
But
yeah, I
Tactical
don't
Breach
play a whole
Wizards
lot
is
of
doing it
those.
for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's maybe not your cup of tea, but I didn't know how it would be. I got it on a Steam sale for sure, but um, very breezy game, very easy to understand. It's all you have an action, you have a bonus action. Um, it's kind of like Baldur's Gate 3 in that way, where it's
Okay.
it's very self-explanatory what you need to do. You have a certain set of actions. Between each mission, you can spec out your character and get new costumes and stuff. Simple on that front. The story's simple, but the combat in the game is really fun. I'm really digging it. I'm like a quarter of the way through. I've barely started it, but Tactical Breach Wizards, if you're looking for a really good game on Steam to play, I recommend that one. And then another one for Steam, for kind of my Steam block is Home Safety Health, or sorry, what's it called? Home Safety Hotline. That's what it's called. It feels like you're like a help desk for um, kind of like woodland creatures that have invaded people's houses. It's really interesting. So imagine you're like, it's like this old 1996 old DOS kind of computing sort of aesthetic. It's
Hmm.
very like Hypnospace Outlaw or any of those
Yeah, I love that game.
old sort of, yeah, like that sort of vibe,
Yeah.
where it's not like outlandish like that, but like it's got this old sort of computing technology you're kind of running everything off of. It's like a really interesting OS. It's got old like Windows 98 feel to it.
Yeah.
um but you're basically like, um you get this job, and your rep is like, hey, welcome to the force. People are going to ask you to identify problems in their houses for this hotline. Can you help them out, this and that? So you basically, it's set up like a kind of like an OS program where you're answering the phone, talking to people. It's a voice. The people are voiced with captions, and they tell you what's going on. Like for instance, this lady was like, "Hey, I can't sleep because there's this chittering like in my attic, and I can't. I wondered if you knew what this was. People told me to call you, and so." There's like a list, like a full-bodied list of things that it could be like that of like recorded disturbances. It's like, hey, this could be a mouse, this could be, I don't know, a woodchuck, this could be a gopher, this could be this or that, whatever. Um, it seems very innocuous at first, and there's a lot of fun like character moments. But as you keep playing, like you get access to like these hidden files that your rep gives you, and she goes like, "Oh yeah, you have access to this new stuff. People are gonna keep calling you, keep identifying, right? And then they grade you at the end of a workday, like, oh, you got 50% right, whatever. Because if you don't get a certain home safety problem right, people will call you back going like, "Hey, screw you! Things happened in my house because you didn't identify what we had." And at some point I kind of reached the point where I wasn't doing well enough, and the lady was like, "Oh, if you don't clean up your act, we're gonna fire you." And I was like, "Oh geez, okay, I better start paying attention." But yeah, it gets kind of mystical pretty quickly. There's a fun like PSA at the beginning of this game where it's like a small like, I don't know, like a safety video. It's like, oh, the most common disturbances are safety issues are house fires, um, car alarms, busted break-in doors, whatever, metamorphosis, and there's like a shrouded creature in this like JPEG in the corner of a kitchen. You're like, what am I looking at? What am I looking at?
Okay,
You
okay.
know?
I see what this game is. It's like an analog
Yes,
horror sort of thing.
it's like an analog cryptic game.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
okay.
So it starts, like I said, starts off extremely innocuous, but then
Sure.
by the next day or the day after, you're identifying like common house hobs, pipe growths,
Yeah.
bed teeth. Like you're
Yeah.
finding weird stuff for people going
Analog
like,
horror
"Oh,
games.
this thing chewed up my banister. What could this be?" And you have to identify for them. It seems really good. I'm
Yeah.
really enjoying it so far. It's like a 2 or 3 hour game, something like that. I'm playing all these like little bite-sized games, but
Yeah.
I'm really digging it.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I'll
need
probably blow through it.
some that home safety hotline at my apartment here because I'm always finding like small like little holes in my like ceilings here, and so
Oh,
I've probably got some kind of cryptid up in my
well,
ceiling.
I hear that's a common bat moth,
It's a
so
bat moth.
I'll help you out
Okay.
with that.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, bat moth. Yeah, they have little pincers, and they burrow
sure.
from room to room, door to
It's
door. Yeah,
probably something
I
that'll
can help you out
kill
with
me,
that.
right? Because that's usually what it is in analog horror.
No, so this is also funny. In the description for like, are they dangerous to humans? They go like, it's like the name, a picture of the offending varmint, whatever it
Sure.
is, mystical or otherwise, and then like, are they dangerous? How you can get rid of them? And like, for the bats or whatever, it's like, oh, shoo them away. Or for
Yeah.
like a hob, a common like house hob, it's like, Yeah, you can't get rid of these things. Just leave cream out for it at night and hope it doesn't scratch you. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you like analog horror games like that, I think you'd really dig it. So
Okay.
Home Safety Health or Hotline's really good. I keep saying Healthline.
That's fine.
Hotline's really good. Do I have anything else? Yes. I've actually played a lot more of Echoes of Wisdom than I thought I would this week.
Okay.
A lot more of it. I'm
I
really
haven't started
actually
that yet.
getting yeah, I'm getting a lot more into it. Like I said, it's not like a game you need to like chase for the rest of the year. I don't
Okay.
think it's like the most important thing you could play. It's
It's
a
just
very
sad a
good
little bit
game.
for a Zelda game, right?
A little bit. It felt like kind of a down year for Nintendo in general because there's a lot of remasters
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this has been a
which is
rough
fine.
year for Nintendo for
Yeah, and
sure.
that's fine because the Switch 2 is coming next year. I'm okay with that.
Maybe. Well,
It will.
they've been
I'd be
saying
shocked.
that for how many years now? The Switch 2 will come next year. Switch 2 will come next year. So,
Yeah, I would be shocked if they miss. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
yeah,
Zelda, it's very good. I finished the Gerudo stuff, which is really good. Um, it feels it feels like that thing I mentioned a couple podcasts ago where it was a Zelda maker and they had to make a story around it. And that's the genius of this game ultimately. Is it was going to be a Zelda maker, but
yeah.
they couldn't make it work. So they kept the skeleton of like the actual game design, but they built a story around it. So and
Okay.
that's how this feels like. It's very like go here, do this, go here, do this. Like there's not a lot of flavor in there. And there's a lot of dialogue, which is kind of a bummer because I'm like,
Yeah.
the last thing I want to do is read a million lines of text about I don't know your eating habits on a regular day as a Gerudo. Like I really don't care. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
I guess
that's
I
a
didn't
it's nice
realize
flavor
that
text, but
they tried to make a Zelda
yes,
Maker because
yes,
they
that
had
was
the
the
Zelda
reporting.
Maker
Yeah,
mode in Link's Awakening. Um,
yeah, they made that it was like a dungeon maker or whatever. But
yeah.
this was kind of like an expansion of that, where they were going to make it like items, and they kind of retrofitted it onto this kind of more linear, not linear, but kind of like open zone Zelda game.
Okay.
Um, that they were always going to have Zelda as the protagonist, I believe, but they changed development because they were like we couldn't find an interesting enough hook like a Mario Maker for a Zelda Maker, right?
Yeah.
So they just basically just
That kind of
transformed
makes
it into this,
sense, to be honest.
and it feels that way. It just feels that way. It feels kind of
Yeah.
Frankenstein together. But I do think the game is good. It's very good. They do this interesting thing with the Zora tribes where there's the River Zora and then the Sea Zora or Lake Zora,
Yeah, I
and
heard
they're
about
different.
that.
It's
Yeah.
it's really
Because
cool.
they have the
It's like the
classic
Link to the Past
design.
ones.
Yeah, and then they have the
Yes.
modern ones. Yeah.
I really like that. I think that's
Yeah.
an interesting mashup. I think on the whole, they could do more with the Zelda formula. Just in general, I feel like they need to get away from kind of the classic tenets of it because it's been done so much.
Go
Um,
back to Termina.
See, they should do Termina, right?
Or
Or
do
something like
something
that.
like Termina, yeah. Like, I
Yeah,
really
or
think,
or
yeah, I mean, because honestly, Majora's Mask and even like Twilight Princess, I really think those two games benefited really well from like
yeah,
sort of going away from that traditional sort of formula. Like,
yes, totally,
definitely Majora's
totally.
Mask. Twilight Princess had a lot of like parts of it where it did really feel like it was getting away from that classic, formula.
Yeah,
So
and I think that's why like Link's Awakening felt so fresh is because it's on a different island.
yeah. Oh yeah,
It's
I
on
love that. Yeah,
Conolette Island. Yeah,
it's
I
such a
don't
good
really
one.
love Link's Awakening as a game. I think it's
I
kind of
do.
crusty and old. I I didn't like playing a lot of it this year. I like a lot about it. I feel like the game design is not great personally. That's just a
Yeah,
personal take of mine.
I
It's
like that
probably a rancid one.
original Game Boy Color
See, that's
version,
my
or
issue with it. And I
not
don't
the
want to get
original, but
too
like the
much into
deluxe
it.
version. Yeah,
Yes, yes, the Game Boy Color version.
yeah,
Yes,
that
um,
one's really good.
that's my issue where it feels like old game design juxtaposed onto a new covering, and
Mm-hmm.
it feels odd. Like if you were to play that design in the original, it feels normal. But
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just like that sort of break for me where I'm like not. I'm like, oh, the one thing that really bothered me is like, oh, you have to go this way. You can't go any other
Mm-hmm.
way except for this one way. And if you miss it and you kind of get lost in Link's Awakening, you're like, what do I do?
I
Because you
I
kind of have
remember
to really
that
pay
remake
attention.
having a lot of like systems and things like that for
They
use
had a
in
lot
the.
more than the original. They did,
Yeah,
yeah, and that's yeah. But sometimes even their hints, they weren't giving you enough.
yeah.
Um, I am happy to say this Zelda game is far more straightforward than that. It's just
Okay,
like, hey, go here. We're gonna mark your map, and we're gonna do it like Breath of the Wild with the stamps, which
sure.
is totally
It's a
fine.
brand new
It's definitely
game. It's
serviceable.
just yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I do like how they repurposed the old style, the Grezzo style, like the little kind of cherubic figures
Mm-hmm.
from Link's Awakening. I do like that
Yeah,
art
I like
style a
that
lot.
toy style. Yeah, they call that the toy
Yeah,
style.
as
Yep.
and the toy style, yes. And as far as I can tell, it is not even a sequel to Link's Awakening. It's just kind of like a visual sequel,
Yeah,
which is fine. It's fine. They're using the tech that they developed for it, which is a
yeah.
good use of resources. Um, I don't know if I will finish it, but I'm about 5 6 hours in, really enjoying it. I think it's like a 24 or 5 hour game, not the longest thing in the
Okay.
world, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, I would say play Metaphor over this. I would say play Indiana Jones over this for
Yeah.
sure. But as I take my Switch to work with me, it's like on break, I'll play it, you know.
Yeah.
And then at home, I keep the TV for the big stuff, right?
Yeah.
But been playing Echoes of Wisdom, really liking it. We'll get into this a little bit too, this next portion on the secret level stuff I kind of want to bring up and what we've been watching. But I've been playing a little bit more of Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2.
Okay. I've heard a
I
lot of
guess
good
I
things
guess
about that game.
it is a very good video game. It's kind of shocking because it's Saber Interactive. They do kind of a lot of mid-range stuff, but
Mm-hmm.
this game is really, really good. What's your history with Warhammer 40K? I'm curious.
None.
Almost
I
none at
know
all.
little to
Okay, okay.
none. I know a tiny bit about the lore, just anecdotes that I've heard online or just like from friends. I've got like certain parts of it I like the Nurgle sort of god of
Yeah,
death
the
or
Nurgle stuff's
god
cool.
of disease or whatever. Like I like that
Yes.
stuff, but like
Yeah.
other than that, I like just know anecdotes of like the lore and like I've heard really weird things about the lore as well that are like kind of off-putting to me. That I'm like, I don't know about this, guys. There's like
So
weird
Warhammer
parts of
40K,
it,
and yeah, I
and the
know
fan
exactly
base
what
can
you're
be a
talking
little
about.
bit
There's a
weird
lot.
too sometimes.
Fan base can be weird. There are different pockets of this fan base. So to start, how do you even get into 40K? I don't know how you do it. Like you kind of pick an interest, right? You can either do the painting of the miniatures, you can do
Yeah.
the building of an army, you can do the playing of the army, or you can do the lore or the video games. There's a lot of tendrils you can do in actually engaging with it in the whole. I've kind of done pieces of all that aside from like the actual army miniature stuff
Okay.
because the hobby itself is really expensive. Like I'm not going to spend $50 for a couple miniatures. Like it's just not going to
Sure.
happen. And not even paints or whatever. Um, I mostly am into the lore stuff, and there's a really good YouTuber named Bricky Orchid. He does Adeptus Ridiculous, which is a really good podcast, but it's a good layman's look at basically the world of 40K. And on his channel, he does an amazing like faction breakdown. Like, hey, these are what the Blood Angels are. These are what the Space Marines are. Um, these are what the Pestilence group is. Basically, these are the regular Marines. That stuff is great. Like he does it for the layman. He's like, hey, this is how. If you want to know a broad view of Warhammer and why it's important, what's going on, this is what you need to know, like on a base level, which is really cool. Um, the so there are different eras of 40K or Warhammer, I should say. This is Warhammer 40K. There was 30K and I think 20, I think before that. But it's each in 10,000 year increments for their fiction.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a million books written by many, 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 many people. Um, there are different, there's sub series on sub series, this and that. The things that you need to pay attention to as far as like a branching narrative is it starts with the Horus Heresy. If you were to get into Warhammer at all, it starts with Horus Heresy, um, and it kind of
Horus.
trickles down from there, where it's like, hey, the Emperor has been slain or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, or like this main issue happened and everyone splintered, right? Basically, it's this Emperor becomes this space god, and he births a bunch of not clones, but like similar archetypes to himself with different kind of classes or and specifications, different things that make them different. But they're all basically from this gene seed where they're all like of him. They're like, hey, we're basically like copies of our dad in different ways. May they be good or bad or ugly, whatever. Um, but that's in any broad view, that's basically Warhammer 40K. It is endless war, endless violence. The tagline for everything they do in Warhammer 40K is in the far future, in the grim dark of the far future, there is only war. That is basically it. There are no good guys. Even the good guys are bad guys. Like everything sucks and everything's war. It's kind of awesome. Everyone's
It's
morally
kind
gray.
of
It's really cool
awesome.
stuff. Yeah, no, it's
Not
really
the type of
great.
world
Like
you want to live in, though.
no, God, no, no, don't live there. Like you would not live long, period, I would say. Um, but I've been playing 40K Space Marine too, and I played a little bit of the first one this year and really liked it. It's a little old in some ways, but I feel like this game, um, okay, so I guess we'll start here. It shares a main character with the first one and this one. It is you play as Titus, Captain Titus. He is from the first game. The first game story not important really at all. You're just fighting orcs trying to save this guy. That's it. And you chop up orcs on the way. It's really fun. It's a fun game. It's on PS3, Xbox, and Steam. Um, Nothing really important about it, but it really gives you the feeling of how it is to be a space marine, which is like the most important faction of the oh, I forget what they even call them, but of the factions, like that's the Ryu, I should say, of 40K is like you're a space
Yeah,
marine, that's it,
yeah.
and everyone has their Primarch, like their
That's
leader from the Gene Seed.
always what I hear
Um,
about a lot is the Space Marines.
Yes, Space Marines are the most important. So they made a video game around them. I think there's some things I like a little bit better about the first one in terms of like getting health regen back and stuff like that. There's like a melee execution you can do, kind of a la Doom, the 2016 Doom, where you're killing people specific ways to get health back. This one does it a little bit different, the second one, but in every other regard, the second one is like a major improvement on the first. The first one feels like the best 7 out of 10 you've ever played. This game is easily 8 or 9. Like it is ratcheted up on every level. The visuals are stupendous. The combat and the audio is excellent. Um, it carries some slight narrative from the first one because you are that same character. But it's not that important. I don't know the full story of the second one, but you're basically dropped right Um, in this kind of like jungle planet, you're this Death Watch, which is kind of this honored shadow guard for the Imperium. And you play as Titus, like I said, and you're kind of just going from battle to battle, getting orders, and you're kind of like this shadow recruit for this for the Space Marines, and everyone's trying to figure you out. It's a really interesting story. I kind of need to see how it gets going. I haven't fully like launched into the narrative yet, really, but I'm playing on PS5. It looks incredible. The sense of scale in this game is just awestruck. It just leaves me on the floor. I'm just like, it looks incredible. Every aspect of the art direction, art design is fantastic here, and that's a lot from 40K. But it's also the execution of Saber Interactive as a studio. Um, it's multiplayer too. If you were to get it, we could play together. It's super good, super good. I think it's
Yeah, I've
meant
heard
for
that
three
it
player.
plays a lot like Helldivers too. Is what I've heard.
Yes, it really does, and that's kind of what I was going. I now that you said that, I was gonna be reminded of it. It's very Helldivers 2 that way, where you're
Yeah,
kind of like Left for Dead, kind of clawing your way from you're snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, and you're being overrun pretty much every second. So you kind of have
yeah,
to be, on harder difficulties, you got to really be paying attention, but even on the lower ones, you're getting overrun pretty quickly. Um, so you have like this chain sword and a bolter, different guns, that sort of thing. But it's a third person hack and slash. It's really good. It's not even just serviceable. I think it's just excellent. I think it's just a really good game on the whole. I've put about an hour and a half into it, 2 hours. Um, it feels like I've done that with a lot of games this past couple weeks. Since I finished Metaphor, I feel kind of free. I'm like, I'm going to touch everything.
pick a game and
And
play
this is,
it.
yeah, basically. But I have been finishing some stuff, so don't kill me there. I will definitely finish this. It's like 10 hours. It's not that
Yeah,
long at all. Um, I'm going to finish a couple more things here and there, and then I'm going to really jump into Persona 3 and finish that, so we can talk about that in
it's a
January.
good
But
game.
uh, that and Zelda is what I've been playing, kind of on the background. And yeah, that's really all I had for new stuff, unless you had anything else.
Yeah, I guess I can talk about this one real quick. So
Yeah,
I
yeah, go
did
for it. Go for
remember
it.
that I played a little bit of this. I guess about 2 hours of it. It's
Yeah.
called Atlyss. It's
Okay.
it it
How's it
it's an
spelled, first of all?
action. It's Atlyss. It is a action
Okay.
RPG.
I think
But
I've seen this on Steam.
it's early access on Steam.
Is it a
It
fox lady?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
very
I've seen
very
this
very
game.
furry sort of game. I've got friends in the furry community, so not
Oh,
part
okay.
of that myself, but
Oh,
it's
sure.
just what it
Whatever.
is. So,
How they swing.
but yeah, but so I played a bit of this, and yeah, I mean, if you can't like stand that art style at all, then you're not gonna like this game. This
Not for
game
you.
isn't gonna be for
Yeah,
you.
not for you.
Um, I can stand the art style, so but the gameplay is pretty fun, especially with friends. It's I think you can have like up to like 16 players at once, so
Oh,
like
wow. Okay.
yeah, I I think parties might only be like limited to like four. I'm not sure, but I've only ever played with two other people at a time. But like I said, I only played like 2 hours of this thing. But um, yeah, I got friends that like are big into it. That like are waiting for the next content of it, and it reminds me of two things. So first of all, the like primary thing that it reminds me of, and I want to get the name of this game right because it
Yeah, you're fine.
is a game that is definitely a lot underrated. Oh yeah, yeah. So the first thing that reminds me of is Reciteer and Item Shop's Tale. Now,
Okay.
this is from developer Easy Game Station, and
Okay. Okay.
they came out with uh, just like three different games. They were very like anime action RPG sort of games, and the only one I really ever played a whole lot was that Reciteer.
Hmm.
But that was like a big breakout game for me back when I started getting into PC gaming. And so, yeah, I think I was gifted that game, or at least
Okay.
recommended it by a
Cool.
friend. But so, yeah, just like that, I guess that style of like sort of indie anime RPG kind of bleeds into this. That sort of gameplay style from that also bleeds into this game, Atlyss. And another one that is a little bit of a bigger name nowadays. Disgaea. It
Yeah.
has like that
Sure.
sort of like feel to like the menus and UI and things like that.
Okay. Sure.
So
I know exactly what you're talking about. I played this
yeah,
guy one a little bit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
then as for like what else it reminds me of, it reminds me of a lot of like the like 2010s sort of anime MMOs that would come out a lot. I used to
Okay.
play a lot
Yeah.
of
Sure.
those when they would come out and
Like a
grind
like
in
a
them.
what was that called? What was that called? Wild something or other. It kind of reminded me of that. There's a couple like WoW killers.
There's a lot of them.
I kept
Yeah.
a lot of them,
I
and
played quite a
they
few
all
of like
came
those
out and
really like
sucked.
hyper anime ones, and yeah, I mean they were
Yes.
fun with friends, fun for a time, but they all just sort of like would die out, you know.
Yep. Just die on the
Um,
vine mostly. Yeah.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, this game it kind of reminds me of those like things, and so
Do you think I
it's
would like this game? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it's fun.
Okay.
But it's not very complicated. It's very
Okay.
you just press your buttons and you don't have a lot of buttons to press. So in that
Okay.
way it's like an MMO, but it's also got like the a little bit of the action RPG sort of like positioning to it,
Okay.
so it
Yeah,
tries to
I
do
like that
sort of
stuff.
both. Um,
Yeah, I like positioning in that. Yeah.
but yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you definitely don't have to necessarily look like a furry if you don't want to. I made my character look like a goblin, so
Sure.
um,
Sure. Okay.
like
Atlyss. Atlyss.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I saw this on Steam the other day. I was going like, I'll check this out. Um, but
yeah.
yeah, in these last 2 weeks we've been playing some stuff for sure. That's a lot of games. That was a lot of games.
Yeah,
I think we talked collectively about like, oh, what was that? Like 20 something games, 25 games. That's a lot.
yeah.
A
I
lot
don't
of
know.
games.
We talked about plenty of
It's a
games.
lot. Yeah, I mean, there's always that is the thing. I never lose sight of. People are like, oh, no good games came out. Like, dude, you just don't know where to look. Like,
Yeah,
shut up.
if
Like,
you're
there's always
just
so much to
looking
play.
at one, publisher, one, you know, like
Yeah.
entity like Nintendo, then yeah, there wasn't a lot for Nintendo this year. They had a quiet
Or
year.
if you play Madden or COD, yeah,
Well,
go play
yeah,
those. Like,
yeah.
come
Play
on,
something different. Yeah,
miss me with
it,
that.
it's yeah. I mean, this has honestly been a good year for even like sports fans, and from
Yeah.
what I understand, like that new college football game came out.
Oh
And
yeah.
it got
It's a
like
good game.
yeah, it got
Yeah.
mixed reception, but the people who liked it, I
hmm
think, really liked it. So
It got mixed reception because it's just pretty feature bare, but like
yeah,
it's in the actual playing of it, it's really fun. I platinumed that game actually this
yeah,
year. I'm a huge football fan.
yeah,
So not as much college, but I prefer. It's weird. I prefer the college football game
sure,
over the Madden game. And there was also I played a lot of NCAA football 11, I think a lot. Had Tim Tebow on the cover. I played that one a ton. There's so
yeah,
much you could do in that. There's like mascot football you could play like as like all like Stanford. They have like the tree, so you have just 11-man trees. It's hilarious.
that's great.
It's so funny. Um, but yeah, that's a great game. Sports games in general are they're in a pretty good place. I wish there was more out there, more
Yeah,
variety, like more like an NFL Blitz or something. They should do that again.
yeah. Even like
Um,
Call of Duty 6, from what I understand, like the people who are
yeah,
actually like playing that regularly are having a good time with that game. So like
I hear that game is good though. I hear that
yeah,
campaign is excellent as well. Yeah,
yeah.
um,
So this has just been a good year for games, and I think
it has been.
just like
Yeah,
last year, like last year was a good game for games. This year was a good game
yeah,
for games. I just think that
yeah.
the industry is just growing in general.
I think it's just yeah. There's like all the big stuff is hitting pretty well
Yeah.
aside from Ubisoft stuff. Yeesh.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, there's been a
There's something
lot of
for
good stuff.
everyone. The past at least
Yes,
few years, there's been something for
there's always a
everyone.
lot to choose from. A
Yeah.
lot to choose from. This next, we will talk about this at the end because it's going to be a little complicated. It'll be Christmas week next time we do Stick Drift, so we'll have to figure that out.
Yeah.
But the next time we do talk, the Game Awards will have happened, and as far as I know, there are a couple games that are going to shock people. That's what I've been hearing, and I'm going to want to know what you think about those
Okay.
when that airs tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's a couple games that people like. I've heard this from Jason Schreier, a couple other people, Tom Warren. They're like, "Yeah, you're going to be shocked this is even here." Um, and maybe it's like not in a tangible state where it can be played, but like they're going to show enough of it to be like, oh my god, I can't believe this is around, you know. And I don't know what that would mean. Like, is that like an Elder Scrolls thing, or is like I like it's got to be something crazy, or is it like a
GTA 6. I
yeah? But GTA 6 is pretty close to coming out. Like,
don't know
so
anything about
another
those
thing is there's
games.
a report saying that it might get delayed. The GTA 6. There's a
Yeah.
report saying that. I
It's always
don't
getting delayed.
know. It is. It's kind of like a oh, it's ready when it's ready sort of thing. Red Dead got like 4 or 5 delays itself. Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
Um,
I hear that
yeah, I
game
don't
is
know.
like in a league of its own though, like fantastic.
Oh my god.
I
Oh
gotta
my
play
god.
that game at some
Eh,
point.
oh my god. You have to play that game. You have to play that before the first Red Dead. Like it's a
Okay.
prequel. You
Okay.
can play Red Dead 2 first.
Cool.
And it's I think it's even better for that.
Yeah.
Like if you
I'm
were to
not
play
a
2 and then
Rockstar fan at all. I've never
Me
touched
neither.
any of
I
their
really
stuff.
don't even like their game. I think
Yeah.
GTA 5 is kind of an actively bad game. I don't
Okay.
like that game really at all. I think it's pretty putrid in its themes, its
Okay.
characters, and its moral compass. But Red Dead is like the earnest version of Rockstar that I want. It's like
Yeah.
Bully that way, where they're telling a good story with great characters and
Yeah. I've heard good
fantastic
things about Bully.
mechanics. Oh my gosh, yeah, Bully's fantastic. That's maybe one of the best games they've ever made. But Grand Theft Auto is just like I think Grand Theft Auto 4 is fantastic, and it was such a bummer that 5 came out, and it was so crappy in its themes. I think it was just about a bunch of irredeemable people doing irredeemable things, and that's
Yeah.
not fun for me. The thing about 4 that I loved is that it had a character you could root for. It was kind of a fish out of water, Nico Bellic. And Red Dead 2 is about mostly earnest men trying to make their way in the world. Not in 2 initially, but the character arcs for a lot of their games are really strong. Like Rockstar's writing in 2 specifically, and for Red Dead 2 is just on another level. Like it
Yeah.
is movie, TV show quality writing. You could plug that into a show and it would be as good if not better.
Yeah.
And it has some of the best cinematic touches and flair to any game. It feels like it's the most expensive game ever made. It really feels like that in its production values.
Yeah.
It's excellent. One moment from Red Dead 2, the estate takedown that you do in that game is like top 3 all time moments for me in any game. It is so cinematic and so amazing. I think you should play Red Dead 2 when we get past all the new games
Yeah.
for sure. It's definitely worth playing. And it's not long as like a Persona or anything like that. It's
Yeah.
like a 40, 50 hour game.
Okay.
Um, but it's just man, what a game! I've thought about replaying it, but I kind of don't also want to taint my feelings on it from the first time. You know, I
Hmm.
just that first playthrough I had was so special, such a special game. The story is maybe the best in any video game. Any video game, it's truly special stuff. Um, but yeah, that's kind of our video games. I want to get into this topic a little bit. I don't want to go too long on it, but I wanted your input on this for sure, and I wanted to kind of talk about it on the podcast. So we want to do game of the year, right? Once you've kind of made some headway into Metaphor, if not finished it, and me finish Persona. That's I feel like if we get those 2 done, we'll be in a good spot. Um, and if we get Indiana Jones done along the way, great. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I definitely probably will have finished it because it's not very long. That's the next thing I'm playing. Um, but I wanted to talk about categories. What categories do you want to add? Into game of the year. I have a kind of running list. We can kind of add and subtract. A lot of this is, whoop, drop my phone. A lot of this is kind of stemming from my giant bomb love for sure. There's a couple categories that I really want in there. Um, but other than that, I feel like it's kind of up in the air. We can decide whatever. Anyway, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely want, like an overall game that's like it has to be like a new
Yeah,
game, not like a
yeah.
remake or not like a
Hmm.
remaster. Um,
Hmm.
and then we'd want like maybe like best remaster, um, you know,
Sure. Okay.
and like a best DLC, sort of
Yeah.
thing. Those kind of categories, and then like maybe like a best multiplayer, um, sort of experience, best
So
indie
we could definitely
experience.
have, yeah, we could definitely have those for sure. Like I think best multiplayer is a great one. That's We've played enough multiplayer stuff this year. Like
Yeah,
Marvel Rivals might win that, honestly, just from how much we're probably going to play of that.
good.
Um, but yeah, well, the idea is to probably offer 2 or 3 examples for each category,
Yeah,
and we kind of just decide on a winner and runners up, right? Um, I think some good categories personally would be best character. I think that's a great one.
yeah,
Like singular character. Like who is the best in this game or in of the year? There's best
yeah.
character of the year. I think best mechanic. That should be a good
Mm.
one too. Where there's like what is the hook that this game revolves around, or what's a little tidbit to a game that makes it great? Like for instance, in a ranger, you're kind of this girl that can move left to right, up and down, slide puzzle way, or in
Mm.
Indiana Jones, his whip. He can do multiple things with his whip. Like, what mechanic in games, are we wanting to kind of elevate for like kind of a best showing of a tool set? You
Yeah,
know, um, Metaphor, I don't even know what that would be necessarily. I'd probably have to drill down and think about it. But old game of the year, I think this is an important one where because we both play a lot of old stuff. My old game of the year would be Baldur's Gate 3, for instance, where it didn't come out this year, but it's the game I enjoyed the most this year. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Um, because I finished that game in what, February, March. I didn't get to finish it by the end of last year, but that would win my old game of the year. If I could put that in my game of the year last year, it would have been it. That would have
yeah.
topped everything,
Drakengard
right?
3 might win that for me, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's what I yeah, totally. And we don't have to like a lot of them would be personal offerings
Yeah,
where we go like, "Hey, this is mine.
this
This
is
is
what I'm
yours." But
elevating.
as
Yeah,
for like yeah, as for like overall game of the year, if it matches up, that's great. But like we can also offer up like for instance for mine it's probably going to be Metaphor.
sure.
And for you I don't know what it'd be, you know.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, those two character and best mechanic for sure. I was thinking best disappointing game or most disappointing game, but
Mm,
I don't know if we played anything that bad this year. Like, okay, I bought Suicide Squad, right? I'm going to try this out. That might win it for me if I
okay.
don't like it. I haven't played a lot. I feel like putting Zelda in this is really cruel. I don't think it's
Mm,
disappointing, but
yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I curate my stuff so specifically. I don't want to pigeonhole it, you know? I don't
Yeah.
quite know how to deal with that, but I think identifying something that like, hey, this has merit, but like it has kind of major shortcomings, you know? That'd be a good category to have. I had Concord Character of the Year. I thought that would be hilarious.
Yes. I love Concord so much.
Sure, yes. Concord Character of the Year. That might be a good one. Um, definitely an honorable mention list for games I wish I'd finished. Like by the time we get to the end of the year, like, oh, what missed out before this podcast? You know, what are the stuff that, like I played as much of this as I possibly could have, but I just didn't get it done in time, right?
Yeah.
What is like an honorable mention? Like, oh, if I played more of it, I'd throw it up there, you know. Um, and then like yeah, best game, like you said, multiplayer game, this and that, you know. Best story, that would be a good one too. Just some random stuff that I kind of had jotted down. But yeah, we'll compile a list for sure. I think out of all of them, if I could like sacrifice any babies or anything, I would sacrifice it all at the altar of um, old game of the year or best mechanic because I kind of really want to talk about Baldur's Gate 3. I really do. Like that game is so special,
Yeah.
such a special game. Um, but yeah, anything else for you to add?
No, I mean, yeah, like you were saying, disappointing games, it's kind of hard for me to do.
Yeah, it's really
I
hard.
don't
Yeah,
really play things that I'm not gonna like. That's just how I am. And
totally. That's kind
so,
of where I'm at. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I
Very rarely
can,
am I actively involving myself into something like a Suicide Squad, something that I know is not great. Like I'm not
yeah.
really doing that. Yeah.
I don't, I also don't like to just rag on games to rag on games unless
Yes.
if it's for like comedic
Yes.
value. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
I like to try and see merit in games, that others have
Yeah.
considered bad, and that I play a lot of crappy games because of that, and I end up enjoying a lot of crappy games because I try and see the good merits in crappy games, and
That's a good quality to have, though. Yeah, I like that about you. That's good.
I
Yeah.
so sometimes I'll find some real stinkers. I'll be like, no, I'm gonna die on this hill. This is a good game, and
Bad Rats
so
is a good game, actually. We like Bad Rats.
we don't like Bad Rats. That game sucks. But
Yeah,
anyways,
that's a bad game. That is a bad game.
anyways,
I think I had that game. Yeah, I think I
everyone
had Bad
owns that
Rats.
game. If you have a Steam account, you have Bad Rats. I'm sure I gave it to you or somebody
It's
gave it
like the
to you
My Name is
because
Mayo for PSN. It's like the same thing.
yeah. If you have a Steam account and you don't have Bad Rats, reach out to me. I'll get you Bad Rats. Don't worry about it.
I
So.
think you got me Bad Rats already. I think you did.
I'm
I'm
talking
pretty
to
sure
the
you did.
listeners. So any listeners out
Oh,
there,
okay.
if you need Bad Rats, I can get you Bad Rats. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know a
Uh,
guy. I know a guy. I literally
yeah.
know a guy.
Wow. But
Yeah, I know. You like that?
it's yeah, so yeah, this year, I mean, yeah, like I didn't, play a whole lot of like big titles this year. It just wasn't a year for me
Yeah.
for wanting to play like big titles. I mean, I played like the Pal World and I played like the Helldivers and
That's hey, that's big stuff. I mean, once you finish like Metaphor and Persona, like that's a list,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
That's definitely a list.
So,
I mean, Helldivers took over the world for Pete's sake.
yeah,
I mean, that
Helldivers
is
was huge.
definitely valid. That's
I
probably you know
liked
what?
Helldivers, but it's not my
I did
type of
too.
game. Um,
Yeah,
so I didn't like it maybe as much as others did, and like I've been invited to play Helldivers more like
same.
recently, and I'm just like, I don't know, it's not really something that I want to focus on right
Yeah,
now.
I like that game a lot. It's become a less and less casual thing though, as it's been
Mm-hmm.
iterated upon, and I
Absolutely.
kind of don't care about the
Everyone wants to do
meta
that
at all.
hell dive mode, and they want to do it with full
Yes.
meta, and it's like I don't. I just
Full
kind of want
meta
to.
against the robots. Yeah, yeah.
I just kind of want to play like whatever. So
I mean, hey, maybe we should pal up and play then because we're
yeah,
both like that.
I feel like a lot of games, and I'll probably do a crash course on this some point. So,
Okay.
but this will
Okay.
be a future topic: is meta ruins games, because I really do think that
Mm,
meta is really good at ruining the fun in games and making games to where you're just chasing after the next meta thing and
yeah.
basing your whole
The new hotness,
gameplay
yeah, of a given game.
on
Yeah.
yeah. And I think for some games, meta having a established meta can be fine and work and be, beneficial. I think of, Pokemon, like, with Pokemon TCG Pocket, I personally enjoy playing the meta in a meta environment against other meta decks and facing off against them, seeing who can do that better, essentially, pilot that better.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I think in the situation of like a Helldivers 2, like it's a PvE game, you really just want to play, whatever you want to use and have fun, and not, sweat your
Definitely.
balls off, and I think that's
That's
what
really it.
something that Marvel Rivals does really well is that it
Yeah.
really encourages just like, yeah, play whoever you want, and it's up to you to do well or not do well at the game. They're not going to tell you, which one you have to do. You can do well or you can do poorly, but either way, you're still going to um, leave the game with some sort of experience, right? So,
Yeah, and ultimately it's low stakes. Like that's
yeah,
what Marvel Rivals does well.
yeah.
It feels low stakes, and I think that more multiplayer games need to return to that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to play ranked. I don't really care about playing ranked
Oh
ever.
gosh,
You know,
I have friends that
I
are
just don't care.
constantly asking me to play ranked in Marvel Rivals because
No,
I'm
no.
I'm
Why would
decent
I?
at the game, and it's like I don't want to.
Yeah,
I just want to fight.
it's literally I used to play a ton of Destiny. Destiny 2. Destiny
Yeah,
2 is my most played game ever. I've been asked to run Trials over Cyrus a million times. I'm like, no, I hate being that hardcore
yeah,
because it's a single elimination. You have to do well for multiple rounds to get this gear, and if you don't do well, it's on you. And it's a three-team comp, you know.
yeah.
So if you messed up, they're gonna know who it is. And I'm just like, I I don't have time for this crap. You know, it's hard enough to raid. I don't even raid anymore. Raiding is way easier than Trials of Osiris. Like it's literally ranked, but like uber rank. You know,
Right.
like who wants to do that crap? So I'm in a different point in my life with it. I don't play a lot of multiplayer games anyway. About as hardcore as I go these days is Fortnite, and I've been waning on that too. So
Yeah.
I have not played a
Well,
lot of Fortnite,
I've been
but
hearing leaks that they're adding Hatsune Miku to Fortnite, so I might be on
I
there
believe it.
again.
They have Godzilla and some Jordans, so they would do that.
Yeah, Godzilla. That's pretty terrible.
It's
Honestly,
the
he
American
looks.
one, so
Yeah, he looks really anorexic. They need to feed him something.
they have a
He's not
first
doing
person
too
mode.
well.
Yeah, Fortnite has a first person mode called Ballistic, which is really cool.
Oh, okay.
I wonder if yeah, it's just Counter Strike as far as
Mm,
I know. It's one map.
sure.
Hopefully that's good. But yeah, we're let's segue into what we're watching with I watched some of Secret Level. Warhammer 40K. That episode was awesome. It
So is
was
there only
so
the
good.
two episodes
No,
right
no, no,
now,
no.
or
So no, I've been picking and choosing.
oh,
There's
okay,
8 episodes as far as I know. I don't know
and they're
how many
all
there will
out,
be.
or oh, okay,
No. So there is another one on Tuesday. I don't know if that's the Concord one or something different.
I
But
hope
as of
so. We
now,
need that.
yeah, I know you do. I think there's 8 episodes out right now, and I kind of watched the ones that interested me. So here I'll just pull it up. The
Yeah,
first one I watched
looks like there's gonna
was
be
the D and
15 episodes.
15, that's kind of a lot. Wow.
Yeah,
The first one I watched was the D&D one, which was really good. That was a
yeah.
great one. It's very short. It feels kind of like the beginning of a story sort of thing. It feels like table setting for a D&D adventure, which is fun. It's a cute little thing. Um, but there's Dungeons and Dragons one. There's a Sifu one. If you've heard of Sifu, I hear
Yeah.
that's excellent. New World, which is that Amazon game.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
thing. Like they're
Yes,
paying
New
for these
World.
things
We
to be
love
made.
New World.
I know nobody does. No one cares. It's one of those things where like they're paying for these games to be made into this so they can promote them. It's just like being sold to, right?
I'm trying to
Um,
even remember which one New World is because they had like several different games that came
it's
out at once that were basically the same thing, but not the same
it's that
thing.
Amazon MMO. It's the
No,
Amazon
but Amazon did
MMO.
several of those.
They did. But
Yeah.
this is like their most famous one. Like this is
Is
the one
it?
that they,
This isn't the
yeah,
most
that
recent
people have
one?
actually. Yes,
Is it the
this
most
is
recent
like
one?
this. I think so. I'm pretty sure it is. It's like the colonization one. Um, I can see the kind of not the box art, but like the JPEG in my head of this guy in like a
Amazon
silver helmet.
MMOs. All right, let's do
Yeah,
this.
just look up New
Okay.
World. But anyway, it's got 8 episodes of now. New World is episode 3. Episode 4 is Unreal Tournament, which is kind of a throwback.
Okay.
Episode 5, which is my favorite, is Warhammer 40K. Episode 6 is the most interesting one. It's Pac-Man, like biblically accurate Pac-Man.
Like that
Yeah,
back then?
I have not seen that one. I will watch it. I will watch it. But I haven't seen it. I will
I
watch it
love Pac-Man.
soon.
That guy's so cool.
Episode 7 is Crossfire, which is another freaking Chinese game. And then episode 8, which is your bag, Armored
I
Core with
know.
Keanu Reeves.
What? They put Keanu Reeves in there. What's he doing?
He's
He's
hanging
supposed
out
to
in the
be
mech,
over in
man.
Sonic World being Shao the Hedgehog. Go back
Hey,
to
get you a man
Shao.
that can do both, right? I mean,
I guess
he's
so.
around. He's busting.
We like that guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
busting makes him feel good. Yeah,
Yeah.
who
For
doesn't?
real.
Yeah. But anyway, he's in that, and that's the 8th episode. 15. I didn't know they were making that many. But this is from Blur Studio, who did they did all the Halo 2 anniversary graphics. They've done a ton of work for video game companies, doing in the cinematics department. But this is Blur from Tim Miller, who directed the first Deadpool, and he's also in charge of Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix. So
Yeah.
this guy has kind of got his tendrils in a lot of pop culture stuff, and everything that I've seen that he's made has been excellent. I mean, he really knows what he wants, and I don't know if he owns Blur, the studio, or if he's part of owning it or running it. I don't know. But they've done a lot of stuff for video games, namely like the Halo 2 stuff, a ton of other cinematics. And they made an entire show, anthology series, like based off of pitches from like either companies or people. And they just kind of made them, which is really cool. Um, I hope it's a going concern and they just do all this all the time because apparently there's like a Mega Man one coming and there's
Yeah.
a
I'm looking forward to
Concord
that.
one and
Oh.
yeah, there's like a lot of interesting ideas.
Yeah. They've
Um,
got a
and
Spelunky one coming out.
yes, I was gonna say that. Yes, Spelunky
Yeah.
2, which I love Spelunky. I wish it was a Spelunky
They're gonna
1
have
one.
a
Um,
PlayStation one of some sort, so that'll be
yes,
interesting.
I've heard some consternation about that where it feels like kind of an expensive commercial. Um, it
I
feels very
mean, to
like
be
these.
fair, the Concord one is also kind of an expensive commercial for a game that
It's
doesn't
maybe the most
exist
expensive
anymore.
commercial ever made. Yes, yes, it is.
For a game
It
that
is.
doesn't even exist anymore, it's awesome.
It's just crazy. Like, okay, so what is the financial gain from putting this out? Is it just a sunk cost thing where they're just like, we made it, we
Yeah,
got to put it out? Like, it's an
yeah,
expensive thing, you know?
yeah.
But like, what value is it to people to see what they
It's
almost had? Like,
Concord. That's valuable to me.
this damn thing keeps sneaking back and biting us. Biting me. I
You're gonna
can't.
see Concord grapes at the grocery store, and you're gonna have like flashbacks.
I'm way ahead of you. I'm way ahead of you. I'm seeing Star Child in my dreams.
Not Star Child. Anyone but him.
Yeah, totally not Drax. Totally not Drax, even though he's exactly like Drax.
Oh man.
Oh my gosh. Morally bankrupt, all of them.
They're gonna have
I mean,
Unreal Tournament's also gonna be one. That's interesting.
I mentioned that. I think you're looking up
Yeah,
something, but yeah, Unreal Tournament I hear is pretty good.
yeah.
From a quality level, this show seems really well made, which is cool. The things dragging everything down is either the storytelling or the IP involved. Like, who
What do you
cares about
mean?
Crossfire, for instance?
Oh, okay, yeah,
Like,
Crossfire. We don't care
yeah, like
about
Crossfire
Crossfire.
or New World, like no one cares. Like,
Yeah,
that's marketing, you know?
yeah.
I mean, it's
Now
an Amazon
Concord,
show.
we
They're gonna
care
put their
about.
freaking game on there.
Yeah.
We need to put down Concord like a sick dog. Like, a,
You can't put down Concord.
have to. He's like old Yeller. He's
Lennox
got
is
rabies.
so
We gotta.
cool, though. I mean, he's such a
Concord
cool
has
guy.
rabies and he's hiding in the wash bin. We gotta take him
Oh
out. Gotta
gosh,
take him out.
not
I'm
up to
trying while I hold the
pasture.
shotgun, but I'm blasting him away.
Yeah, I can't even be there to watch. Poor Concord.
Uh, uh, have some fortitude, man. Have some fortitude. Anyway, the two episodes I saw of Secret Level, really good.
Yeah,
I'm excited to see more. I didn't know there were that many episodes, so that's exciting.
yeah,
They just need
that's
to
a
do a whole
lot.
40K show based on this. Like, the quality of that 40K episode is just incredible. They already greenlit that Henry Cavill show, so they're going to do that, but it's live action. They should just make a Blur show now. Just do it. Why can't you do two shows for Warhammer?
Hmm.
You know. Um, but
Well, give
apparently
it all the
Henry
shows. Yeah,
Cavill's
sure. People
yeah,
love that stuff.
apparently
Apparently.
Henry Cavill's a huge 40K fan. He
Hmm.
builds kits and stuff too.
Oh,
So
nice.
he's
Honestly, he
involved. He's
seems like the
producing. He's
type of guy that
starring.
would like that. That makes sense.
Yeah, he's actually kind of a huge nerd, which
Yeah.
is cool. Um, there's like video, excuse me, out there of him building a PC, which is awesome.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's basically what I've been watching, and then just Christmas stuff. We've watched what did we watch tonight? Polar Express. That time of
The
the year.
Polar
Polar Express.
Express.
Yeah, the Polar Express. Tom Hanks plays everybody in that movie. You know that, right?
Yeah, every single
Like
person. Yeah.
literally
Even the
everybody. Like,
little
he
girl.
doesn't
Yeah.
voice everybody.
Yeah.
He even plays the little girl. Like, Robert Zemeckis said, like, "Hey, I got the role of a lifetime, but I'm only gonna pay you once. Do you want to do this with me? Uh,
Oh man.
I'm a little cheap that way,
What
buddy."
a weird movie. Like it's not even like I don't know. I wouldn't consider it a bad movie.
No, it's not bad.
It's just a weird movie for sure.
I was like, "Be careful, be careful. Watch your step. Be careful."
Yeah. No, it's just a weird movie. That's all I have
It
to
is
say about
okay.
it.
The weirdest thing about it is how it looks. Like,
Yeah.
100%. It looks so weird.
Yeah.
And it has not. Okay, so I have this problem with a Beowulf. Have you seen Beowulf?
No, I never
Like,
got around to watching that one.
it's the same sort of thing where it's Robert Zemeckis, it's Shangri-La Entertainment doing the mocap stuff.
Yeah.
And they also did the Jim Carrey one, the for Scrooge, the Christmas Carol. They did that as well. It's that weird, uncanny, cartoonish human that they put in those movies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's just off-putting as all get out. You're like, the eyes are too dead. All the guys in this hot chocolate scene look like robots, and they're all the same.
Yeah.
They're literally the same. Like, yeah, they were balling on a budget in some ways, or that, or they expended their budget doing something else, like hiring Tom Hanks to be a little black child. I don't know. Um, that sounds more derogatory than I'm
It
making it
sounds
than it actually is,
pretty
but
rough. Yeah.
it's it sounds actually horrible when I put it that way.
Yeah. Maybe
Anyway,
don't put it
he
that
also
way
played a
ever
little white
again.
boy. He played a little.
I think that makes it a little bit better, maybe. Gosh. Gosh. Episode
I'm
5
sorry.
of
That was.
Birdie.
Let's rewind. He plays a white man too. A few of them. Anyway, Tom Hanks, in a role of a lifetime, plays a little girl that only wants to get on a train. And I was saying this to my wife. I was like, do you think like time stops when the train comes around, or is time still going? Because that's the only way Santa makes sense is with time travel, because there's no way possible. I mean, they try to tech him out and going like, oh, he's always got a way to get things to places. There's infrastructure for Santa, right? But I'm like, it really just wouldn't work without time travel. So is this what's happening with the Polar Express? And then obviously not, because the conductors have got a stopwatch for everything. But I was just like, yeah, all these kids are just getting on this phantom train, consensually getting on this train and getting abducted by this random conductor.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Um,
It's fine.
don't worry about it. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Um,
Nothing
They
weird
he
going on.
clips he clips their train tickets with like today's date, like a newspaper. I have your child.
Don't worry about it. Yeah, there was like
Yeah,
something that I was like looking at or watching, um, and it reminded me of Polar Express. Now I can't for the
yeah.
life of me think of what it was. I don't want to say it was that Indiana Jones game, but it could have been the Indiana Jones game.
Okay. What reminded you of it?
Just like the art style, just like the motion
Oh,
capture and
like
things like
the
that.
actual like motion capture of it. It
Yeah,
might have been Indiana Jones. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, honestly, like I was telling Alex this too. I think they could totally just remake Polar Express and just make it better. Like if they just did it with real people, what would be the problem with that? You know,
Yeah,
I think it
yeah,
actually, I think it'd actually be an improvement. To be
yeah.
completely honest with you,
Like it's got the
I don't know.
foundation to be like a good movie. It's
Like the
just
movie is good, but like it's just creepy. It's just a creepy
yeah,
looking movie. You
yeah.
know,
The
all the
uncanny
humans look
valley
super wonk.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even just that. It's just like some characters are cartoony and some are not, and it's just like
Hmm.
the visual language isn't like uniform, and I don't know. The Polar Express is not a perfect movie by any means, but it's it's a fun time.
Yeah, it's not bad.
You're a doubter, a doubter, you don't believe. Yeah, I like he takes
Cannibal.
his yeah he takes his sock out of the coffee. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. He's like, yeah, there's the spit take that kid does in front of the campfire. He's like,
Oh yeah,
it's the best.
yeah.
It's the best. He sees him like
Gosh,
wring his sock over the fire. I'm like, yes, yes, this scene is great. Um,
gosh.
but yeah, anyway, that's all I've been watching. Just that stuff. You said you were watching a couple things. What were those?
Yeah, I've just been watching some anime. I let's see.
Anime
Yeah,
is a
I
vice. Yeah,
I just been watching like some seasonal stuff, and then I finally got around to finishing up the Monogatari series. It's like a really like deeply Japanese like show. So like
sure.
you got to be pretty far into like anime and things like that to like that series. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you're big into it, like you'd probably um, enjoy it. But it's fairly long series. It's got a lot of like branching pieces and parts. But I watched most of it already. I just had like a couple of like series in there to like seasons in there to finish up. So
Yeah.
that
Okay,
was
cool.
good.
Yeah. Do you think a Westabu like me would like it?
Probably not, to be honest. Like a,
Dang.
a lot of like the humor revolves around the Japanese language. It's never been dubbed for that reason because like it's so
Oh,
deeply entrenched in the Japanese language. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a weird series. I like it, but I definitely don't understand like half of it, and I'm not gonna pretend I do. Um,
Huh. Just
but
some cultural stuff you're kind of losing in
yeah,
translation. Yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
like I like just like the presentation of it, and like
Okay.
if you just watch like some scenes of it, like it has its own unique art style and presentation that as soon as you see it, like, you're like, oh yeah, this is distinctly Monogatari, distinctly
Okay.
Studio Shaft. So
Gotcha. Gotcha.
um
Okay. Cool. Very cool. I've been trying to find my next anime. I don't know what that is. I still haven't finished Dan to Dan. I do need to keep up with that because
yeah,
I think they're done with that season. So,
no, they're not done with it
um,
yet. It's still going.
are they not? I
I've
thought it was eight
been
episodes.
I don't think it's done because
Okay. Maybe
I'm
I'm wrong.
still
I don't know.
watching that. So
Okay.
um
Okay. I need to finish that
yeah,
because that was my main concern until I got sidetracked with Christmas stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I have so much. Like, I keep a running list of things I'm watching, and it's frankly exhausting. So
Yeah, I've got like
yeah,
an anime list that I keep track of
analyst. Yeah.
because that is the only way I can keep track of everything that I've watched or everything that I am watching.
Hmm.
And like I don't have like everything I've watched in there because I've been watching for so
Yeah.
long. But I just recently
Yeah. You're right.
started doing that, like recording things in there. So
Okay. Yeah. I literally just have a notes app. I just I keep it
hmm
updated. It's kind of
yeah,
a sick
for like
behavior, but
anime stuff, you might check out. Atlyss.co. It's a pretty
Yeah,
good one.
I've dabbled, and I dabbled, and I kind of like it, and I kind of don't, because some of the naming of the seasons is odd, you know,
Mm-hmm.
where it's
Yeah.
like I don't know the way they format things. I didn't completely like.
Mm-hmm.
I just haven't found a good service for any of it, you know. Like for my gaming backlog stuff, I use IGN playlist. That's pretty good. I don't care about IGN that much, but the playlist stuff is really good. Or you
Mm.
could use backlogged, but besides Letterboxd
Yeah.
for movies, I haven't found anything for TV that I really love.
Yeah, I never.
Just Watch is okay. Just Watch is fine, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, not a lot of backlog sites that I really get into.
Yeah, I never documented any of that stuff until
Yeah,
I got like, I don't know, like thousands of hours into anime, and I'm like, maybe I should start documenting this
start
stuff at some
documenting. Yeah,
point
yeah,
that I watch
right,
this stuff, so I don't like watch something again on accident. Be like, wait a
right.
second,
Forgetting that
because
you did it. Yeah,
I do that
totally.
sometimes even now. I'll like,
I did it with One Punch Man, I think. Yeah, I was like, oh, I haven't seen this. I'm like, I've definitely seen this.
yeah, yeah. So,
So,
um,
yeah, I hadn't seen the second season at that point,
yeah,
but
that
I'd
second
seen the
season
first
I've heard
season.
is not too great, but
It's JC staff. It's not
yeah, I haven't
Madhouse,
bothered with
who's
it.
goaded. Yeah.
Yeah, Madhouse
The
is
story's
awesome.
fine, but like the animation quality is really low compared to
Yeah,
that Madhouse season, which is an all timer.
yeah, yeah. And then
But
I
yeah,
got around to that Spice and Wolf remake anime that they did. That's supposed to like follow more closely to the light novels. I really
Brotherhood.
like
Yeah.
that old adaptation a lot. That 2008 adaptation.
Bison
And
Wolf. Okay.
so it like it's yeah, it's the plot of that is pretty much medieval economics mixed with medieval folklore and pagan gods.
Oh.
So
Oh, very cool.
yeah.
Yeah, this looks cool.
So
So this is a new retelling of this.
yes.
Okay.
So and it follows pretty much word for word with the light novels. But
Oh,
it
okay.
it
Gotcha.
covers pretty much everything that was covered in the first two seasons of the original anime adaptation. Um,
Okay.
but they did a
Gotcha.
couple things different in that original anime adaptation, and the art style is completely different. Um,
Oh, wow.
the art style in that remake is supposed to follow more closely, and it does follow more closely to the sort of like cover art of the light novels.
Okay. Cool.
And whereas that original art style, was a fully original art, and
Mm,
I preferred that because it was a lot more grounded art style and a lot more. It felt like it was the correct art style for this sort of
gotcha.
grounded in reality with fantasy elements series,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Gotcha.
Based in like medieval times. It felt like the right art style for this sort of animated adaptation. Whereas the new art style to me, I still can't get quite behind it. And maybe that's
Sure.
the me that really liked that old art style, or maybe it is just not a good fit. I don't know. But what I do
Gotcha.
know is what I prefer. And however, I wanted to watch the remake to get my ideas on it, and also, give it a good showing. And it's a very, very good telling of that story. It really is, and
Okay.
they go into a lot more detail, whereas the old anime skipped over a lot of detail. I felt like compared to this, so in that regard, they do a better job of telling the full picture, I think, in this remake. But
Okay.
they also have already announced that they're going to be continuing on with this story, and so they're going to actually go further than that original
Nice.
anime adaptation did all those years ago. So we'll finally, hopefully, get to experience the full story of Spice and Wolf adapted
Yeah, very cool.
into
I hope
anime.
I hope they do that with yeah, I hope they do that with Hunter x Hunter at some point where they don't finish it
They,
necessarily, but they do more. Yeah.
yeah, they did go all the way up to like that end of that like logical arc before like they got to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Dark World stuff or whatever. I
Yeah,
love
they're
Hunter x
like
Hunter,
about to
so
set. Oh, me too. Oh my god,
yeah.
that
I
is
still want to
that
go
is
back
the.
and watch that original adaptation though, because they have the
I know,
original
me
adaptation
too.
and then they got the
Maybe we should
second.
do that.
Yeah, I only watched
Yes,
that new
yeah.
adaptation. I never watched that original
Same here, same
adaptation.
here. We should definitely do that together. I think that would be awesome
Yeah,
because I adore Hunter x Hunter.
yeah.
It has my favorite power system,
Okay,
characters, and world in anime. I think
okay.
it is brilliant. The
Yeah, I
Nen power
love it.
system is the best.
I wouldn't say it's my
Yeah.
favorite by
The
any means, but I love Hunter x
the
Hunter.
glass of water is just the way
Yeah.
they describe how everything touches that is amazing.
Hmm.
Okay, so I would say everything in Hunter x Hunter feels so dangerous. I love that.
Hmm.
It's so
Oh
unknowable.
yeah,
Like a character
that's
can
fair.
look a certain way but be totally different than
Hmm.
how they appear, you know. And it's
They
scary that way.
Yeah, they do a really good
So,
job of feeding into like unknowns and things like that in Hunter x
yes.
Hunter. And I
Everything
think
feels like there's trepidation. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think that arc that's currently being written, I think, but also hasn't been adapted into animation yet. That is after the ending of that current anime. I think
Yeah,
that
Dark
stuff.
Continent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting too, and so it's going to hopefully that gets animated. I think probably once it's actually finished being written, it'll probably be
Yeah.
animated. Because from what I understand, that's not finished yet. So
The reason being is because the author he has had mm, kind of like chronic back pain,
mm-hmm.
um, and it's been debilitating at times, and he hasn't been able to work like he used to anyway. I think his name is Yoshiro Togashi. He's
That
married to
sounds
the
right. Yeah.
Sailor
Yep.
Moon mangaka, which is cool.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a downer in this way. He's like, I'm trying to teach her how to take over for me if I were to die. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's really sad. So hopefully, at any rate, he's actually I think he's releasing weekly right now, and there might be a hiatus coming. Who knows? There always is, but he's been doing less hiatuses recently and putting stuff out. The main character has switched from Gon to Kurapika, as far as I know, which is
Mm-hmm.
fine. I like Kurapika,
Yep.
but you know, once Gon lost his powers, like spoiler, I should say, um,
Yeah.
he became less of an interesting character to some
Sure.
people. Um, and getting into that kind of is at the end of Hunter x Hunter, so I probably spoiled it. But anyway,
Oh,
if you're this deep in, hopefully you've watched it. It's fantastic. It's so
if you
good. Such
haven't,
a good
go
anime.
watch it. I mean, it's
Oh my
yeah,
god. Oh my god.
classic anime.
That final arc from that anime
Yeah.
with the what's his name? The Prince or whatever his name is. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my
Like
god.
the
It's so
Ant
good.
Prince, you mean? Or
Yes. Oh,
yeah,
Meruem. Oh.
yeah, Merwin.
Oh my gosh, that fight between him and what's his name? It starts with M. Why am I breaking? Oh my gosh, Meruem and Netero. That
Mm,
fight is an all
yeah,
timer. Oh my gosh, the hundred hand Bodhisattva. Oh,
yeah,
that might be my favorite fight in any anime. It might be. It just might be. The fact that he goes in all prepared like that. Oh my god, so good, so good.
yeah.
Um, it's either it's either that or the King Bradley fight from the end of um, like the King Bradley Greed fight from the end of Brotherhood. That's another great
Mm-hmm.
one too.
Oh
Like when they're
gosh.
fight when they're fighting on like the terraces. Oh my god. Oh
Yeah.
my god. When they're like
How about that fight with
outside.
Roy
Oh
Mustang and Lust?
yes,
Like,
Lust.
oh
Yeah, my
my
wife.
goodness.
We got to that part in the anime. My wife was like, "This is amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I'm trying to
Yeah.
tell you."
Roy
Yeah,
Mustang is
that he's
easily
just
one of my
like,
favorite anime characters. He's so cool.
yes.
Oh my
Roy Mustang.
goodness.
That's just a perfect adaptation too. It's
Oh
so good,
gosh.
so good.
Yeah. Now
There's so much.
original anime adaptation is worthwhile as well, in my opinion. That original
Yeah,
Full Metal Alchemist adaptation is pretty good too.
yeah.
But
I
um,
haven't seen it. I know like the movie The Conqueror Shambhala, that's from the original.
mhm.
And also the video games are from that first run too.
Yeah, that
Because
first
I've kind of
run,
been dabbling, so
yeah, at least like the first like few episodes of it are actually really
yeah.
good to watch, even if you're going to go other Brotherhood only, because they
Okay.
skip over those first few episodes. Um,
Wow,
and
interesting.
so you don't see like the beginning of the manga unless if you watch that
Sure.
original adaptation. So, or you could just read the
Where
beginning
they're
of the
like,
manga.
where they're doing the stuff when they're kids and stuff. Is that what you mean?
No, it's like there's like a whole like you won't even really know who Rose is unless if you watch that
Oh, okay. Okay.
original. Because
So
like
you mean like all the
she's introduced in volume 1 of
okay.
Full Metal Alchemist manga, and that's where they
Okay.
start in the original adaptation. Is that volume 1? Whereas they skip
Okay.
over volume 1 in Brotherhood
Interesting.
to get to
Interesting.
the manga original stuff where the anime breaks off
Interesting.
from the manga. So yeah,
Interesting. Okay.
yeah.
I'd have to see what the differences are,
So you
yeah.
might
Because
just
Brotherhood is
honestly, I would say just read like the first few volumes of the manga, and you can see what I mean pretty quickly.
I've been planning to anyway. It's
Yeah.
something I'm gonna probably buy. Like I'm gonna buy those and I'm gonna buy all the Dragon Ball stuff.
Hmm.
Because I just finished the Z recently too, and that
Yeah.
was incredible. Like I said, didn't like the Buu saga too much, but no one really does.
Yeah, I don't
So
remember the
um
mangaka of Fullmetal Alchemist, but she's really talented. 'Cause she did
yeah,
other
she's
stuff
extremely talented.
before that.
Yes,
I
I know
think
what
she
you're
did like
talking about.
shojo manga before that, and then she decided to
Yes.
try her hand at a shonen
And
manga.
she's like the best to ever do
Yeah,
it. So
yeah. It's
isn't
easily
it
one of the
like
best shonen manga ever. So
yeah, what is her name? It's like Hiromi or Hiro something like that.
yeah.
H Full
But yeah,
Metal
I own. I
Alchemist.
mean, back when we were in high school, I owned the first few volumes of that because I showed you the first
Yes.
few volumes of
Yeah, I
Fullmetal
remember. I
Alchemist. You're like,
remember.
"What the
Yeah.
heck is this stuff? This is crap."
Yeah. Probably. I'd never seen any anime when I was that
Yeah.
young. I never watched any of that. Hiromu Arakawa, that's her name. Hiromu
Yeah.
Arakawa.
Yeah.
But she's incredible. She did it all by herself, basically, and it's just amazing. It's incredible. But yeah, I guess this is the point where we should probably talk about what next pod looks like. So we're gonna do the crash course next week, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you decide, go with God. I'm with you. Whatever you want to talk about, Drakengard, this and that, whatever. That would be probably a dreaded backlog or whatever. But
Yeah.
um, you put whatever out that you
Yeah.
want. I'm down for listening to whatever. As for Christmas week, how do we want to do this? Do we want to like do that Saturday before, or do we want to just record another one next week and drop it for Christmas time? How do you want to do it?
Um. Yeah. Let's just kind of play it by ear if we can.
Okay. Okay.
See how
Because I don't
busy
think we're
both
going
of
to
us are.
record during. Yeah, I don't think we're going to record during that Christmas holiday. I
Right. Of
don't think we
course.
are.
Yeah.
So it'd either be next week or that Saturday.
Yeah.
So
It's definitely going to be. That will probably be our end of year Stick Drift podcast. Episode 6 will kind of be our like sort of capstone. So plan on that being our capstone podcast for the year, where we do talk about
yeah.
our games of the year and things like that. That's going to be our sort of cutoff for that sort of thing.
Well,
And
so I was going to ask you, it could be that, or we could move it into January. I don't know what would be better because you want to finish Metaphor, right?
right, yeah,
I
we
don't
can.
think January would be the worst idea.
As long as it's towards the beginning of the year, I'm okay with
Yeah,
that.
I'm down with that. We can move it to like first or second year of January and have a still have a
Yeah,
capstone of games we want to like attack, you know, and
sure.
go like, hey, this year I'm playing all this stuff. By this next time, by like the because it'll probably be 2 weeks from then, we could
Yes.
probably do game of the year,
Okay.
and then we can have everything done or at least mostly done. We can speak on those more freely. I think
Okay.
that's just me. I
Let's
don't
go
think
with
that's the
that.
worst
That's okay
idea.
with me. Yeah, as long as it's in
Okay,
like the
yeah,
first
because
couple weeks of that new year, then
as January goes on, it becomes less relevant, this game of the year stuff. So
yes,
I do, like you said, want to do the
yes,
first 2 weeks.
yes,
I'm with you there 100%. So if
yeah,
we do that, I think that'd work because you want to play Metaphor and I want to play Persona.
yeah,
So and I want to get on that in the next week,
yeah,
and that would be the way to go.
yeah. It
Because what is that, 3 or 4 weeks? So
yeah. It yeah. I think we'll play by ear the next full strict stick drift podcast. But yeah, I'll have at
yes,
least one
yes,
or two things next week. I'll
perfect,
decide
awesome.
on what I want to do topic wise. I do want to do the Dreamlight games at some point, but I
Uh-huh.
might hold off
Dragon
on
Guard
that
kind of
so I
took
can
over,
get.
right? Yeah,
Well, yeah, that kind of took over, and also there I might find something else that I want to talk about. I've definitely had
Okay.
topic ideas, so I'll
Yeah,
definitely have
absolutely.
something for Crash Course. So
Sweet. Yeah, that's gonna be fun. I'm excited. I just love this time of year. Holiday's great. We're gonna have a good time. Yeah, it's just nice knowing what is good at the end of the year. Like
yeah,
knowing what you want to put your time to. Like a lot of the year is me going like, okay, is this even worth touching? Like,
mm-hmm.
is this worth buying? Like that guesswork is done. Like people have like
Mm-hmm.
solidified what they think is the best games. And I've played most of them, honestly. I think the one game that's probably gonna miss me, and I don't really want this to be the case, is Unicorn Overlord. It's gonna be a bummer because I think that game is good. I played a little tiny smidge of it. It's not enough to talk about, really.
Yeah,
Um, but I've heard enough glowing things about it. People are like, it's not quite game of the year, but it's up there. Like, it's definitely an honorable mention. So, if I don't get any
yeah.
time with it, it's probably because of Persona, to be completely honest with you. So, and that
I'm
and
thinking
Prince of
this is
Persia, I want to get into.
yeah. I'm thinking this Unicorn Overlord. I have seen this and heard of this before. It was on
Yeah,
my radar and then it kind of dropped off my radar. It's also something that I might like, but
I think you definitely would like it. It's a
yeah,
vanillaware game. It's
yeah.
they did 13 Sentinels,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah, that's
it's not
another
a
game that I
visual
wanted
novel though.
to try. That 13 Sentinels was another one for sure.
Yeah, it's been sitting on my backlog taunting me. That's one I need to get to.
Yeah,
It's everything I would like in a game. Like I just know I would love it. I love a good story. I
yeah,
love mechs, and I love Vanillaware's art style. It's fantastic stuff. So
yeah,
yeah, we'll play it. We'll play the Stick Drift Pod by ear for sure. I think our going concerns are going to be Noah for Metaphor, me for Persona, and then definitely some Indiana Jones. I think I'll probably finish Indiana Jones before I really get into Persona, because it's not that long. I don't think it's that long, but I'm going to be crushing games left and right. So my next Stick Drift pod's probably going to be pretty beefy too. So yeah, it'll be awesome to hear some new stuff you're playing as well. But yeah, that's basically Stick Drift. That was action packed. We went a long time actually. That was a really hefty episode. We had a lot to talk about.
yeah,
So any closing thoughts on your end, Kimosabi? Are you feeling good? Tired?
yeah,
I'm a little tired.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. A little tired, but feeling good. I think we got a um, good discussion in for sure. So
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm really excited to hear what your crash course or backlog's going to be next week.
yeah,
So look for that.
yep,
We'll be there to hit you with it, and we'll let you know what's going on for regular stick drift. So in the
yeah.
meantime, keep gaming. Appreciate you.